Hey everybody, Matt and Anne just getting ready for this show. Hope you're all doing well. Lions KC review show. We're just waiting on Ash at the moment. Ant, how you doing, mate?
I'm not doing bad, thanks. Yeah, been a good weekend. Beat the Chiefs again. Walloped Crew 5-0 in the football. I know life in the football league is good. So sporting wise, I've absolutely no complaints at the minute. The weather's cooled down, which is nice. It's chill. So yeah, can't complain at all.
Ash has just said on Twitch, the flag's fallen down, Matt. I know that. Thanks. And 3 tram stops away. How long is that in minutes? Because I don't know what 3 tram stops is. It could be 5 minutes. It could be half an hour. I don't know. Also, I know.
Let's just be the British version of 3 billboards outside of Ebbing, Missouri. It's 3 tram stops outside of Nottingham, England.
5 minutes or so. Cool, we'll hang on then. Yeah, it did occur to me actually that this is the first time in the history of our podcast that the people live, including, well, us two, but Ash will also count, that all 3 of our teams will be in the professional leagues and will have won a game this weekend.
Yeah. It's small steps and all.
Small steps. You're following Wrexham's path, apart from you not being wankers about it. You'll be in League One next year, won't you?
Exactly.
Onwards and upwards. As long as you don't do a Yeovil.
Oh no, can't be doing with that.
Oh, for fuck's sake! I've only just seen the Chelsea news.
What Chelsea news?
They're signing another player. Chelsea have agreed a fee in principle to sign Atletico Madrid João Felix, with Conor Gallagher moving in the other direction as part of the deal.
João Felix was once like the most sought after youngster in Europe.
Well, most expensive player in the world, wasn't he? 100 and something million.
He's slowly going down the Freddie Adu route in life. Slowly slipping to more irrelevancy.
I mean, that's a bit harsh. I mean, Freddie Adu literally made nothing of his career. At least Felix has played some big games.
Not done much in them, though. Like he's getting sold.
Yeah.
Chesterfield did not get lucky, Carlton. 4 goals in 20 minutes is not luck. It's called just been really damn good. In mercy rule and all, could have been over like before the half-hour mark. So,
I mean, if you bet on a betting app in the UK, quite often if you go 2-0 up, you're rewarded the win. Anyway, I think we should go with that.
Oh, we get double win then. That's 2 wins. We should get 6 points for that win. It's always fun when we play Crew. There are always lots of goals when we play Crew. I like playing them. Just one of those teams who you're going to get goals in the games. Like every time.
Ash is sad that João Felix got nicked from them because apparently they were in for him. And he says, big sad. And it's like, you know the meme where it says, but Dad, we've got X at home. Well, yeah. Is Coutinho still not a member of Aston Villa still? Like, they're basically the same player.
He went to he did a Matthew Judon. He picked the better club.
Ooh.
Am I wrong?
Ooh. I mean, historically, clearly, well, actually, it's a really good question.
Historically, Villa are better.
Yeah, I was about to say. But in recent history, okay, Chelsea have some Premier Leagues, but Villa are probably historically the bigger club.
But, it's like saying it's like saying the Chicago Bears used to be a big club, but they're not anymore. So, it used to be good.
Yeah, it used to be good. Back when, I guess, was Jay Cutler born in 1985?
I was going to say when the pharaohs built the pyramids, but we couldn't do that. That's when they last had a good quarterback.
Never. Have they ever had a good quarterback? I don't think they have. They really like.
Have they ever had Nate Sudfeld? Then they would have.
Well, you're talking about the guy who's had a fantastic 8-year career.
Oh Jesus Christ! When the Chiefs commentator said that, I put him on a timeout. I'm like, right, that's mute button for 5 minutes. That is. You cannot sit there with a straight face and say Nate Sudfeld has had a great NFL career. Do not tell me.
But the thing is, if they said, like Chase Daniel, he's had a great NFL career, I would have totally bought it because you're putting it in fucking context. Like,
world's biggest fraud.
Well, for a career backup, he has made a good career for himself. But you can't just come out there and say he's made a great career for himself because without context, it means nothing. It's patently not true.
Like, if you're saying he's had a great career at conning people into believing he's a good quarterback, then yeah, absolutely. 100%. But if you're trying to say he's had a good NFL career and then stop, then it's like, you're lying.
So Drew H has just said Jay Cutler ? Who I did invoke the name of. But the problem with Jay Cutler is that he was dumped very much in the way that the Dolphins dumped Tannehill. Like, is Tannehill a good quarterback? Was he ever a good quarterback?
No.
Like, no. I kind of feel the same way about both players.
See, the thing with Jay Cutler, I can't say his name without saying Smoking Jay Cutler. He is Smoking Jay Cutler because he's smoked all the time. That's his name. I can't just say Jay Cutler. It's always Smoking Jay Cutler.
Carlton, someone having a Super Bowl ring doesn't make them good. Ask Nate Sudfeld. I'm pretty sure he has a Super Bowl ring with the Eagles, does he not?
Yes, because he was backup after Wentz got hurt, and what's his face did
it? QB. I think he was QB3 on that team.
Yeah, and obviously, Wentz went down, so he was QB2 when the Super Bowl came around. I think.
Oh, the other thing about Nate Sudfeld that really made me laugh in this game was that he was called Nate Sudfield. Just, like, look at his name. There's no I in it.
I mean, I just called him. It was funny. I just started calling all the players random names after that. Just anyone plays anywhere.
What a play by Christian Watson. Huh?
The team's players.
Hey to everyone in the chat who I haven't acknowledged already. Dan Pask subscribing at tier 1 for his 29th month. Says almost there. Cheers guys, go Lions. Cheers Dan. Also got Luke G in the house. How you doing, Luke G? Says my goal today is to get Anthony up in arms about Broderick Martin being at best. Lol. Grand Eyes is in the building saying Bears had Jim Harbaugh. He was a good QB, but in the wrong system with the Bears. Debatable. Bobo Land says hello from Melbourne, Florida, guys. Hey, Bobo. Drew 8 says, lol, no, many Bears fans would love to go back to the couple of days, maybe before this year, but now Jesus H. Christ is playing for the Bears himself. I'm not sure they would go back. This is the second coming we are seeing right here, folks.
Yeah, 8 years ago it was Trubisky. 4 years ago it was Fields. And this is the third coming.
Elaborate.
Well, first there was Mitch, then there was Justin, now there's Caleb. They had 3 saviors who were going to be the guy. It's the third coming. Fair. Or if you want to go back through all the QBs they've ever had, the 50th or 60th. And hi, Luke, hope you're well. If anybody else in Lions Land needled me the way he does about Broderick, like I'd have issues. But because I love Luke so much and he's my twin, then I can deal with it. We both like to wind one another up, so.
So, the top 5 Chicago Bears quarterbacks of all time, according to Give Me Sport, in April 2024, with Sid Luckman, who I'm just not old enough to remember. Jay Cutler's number 2. Apparently. Lol. Jim McMahon, number 3. Fair enough. Has a ring. Meh. Eric Kramer's 4. Good, not great. Number 5. Mitchell Trubisky.
I mean, if it's Lion Slayers, he's number 1.
He was very good against us.
What was it? I think he was 5-1, wasn't he?
Is Trubisky out of the league currently?
No, he's still up. Buffalo. No, he's been playing preseason somewhere.
Trubisky.
I've definitely heard his name
Bills,
mentioned in
yeah.
preseason.
Bills QB exits game versus Steelers with a knee injury yesterday, so he could be done for the year. Just as I say, he could be done for the year. I get cool down rat subscribing at tier 1 for 24 months with the woo! It's such good timing. It's excellent timing. Thank you so much. Tim Hutchinson's in the chat as well, saying, Luke, what up, though? Brent DeWitt's also in, saying, Sudfeld has made a good living as a clipboard holder. Agree. Mark B says it's pronounced Chelscum. Nice. Brent also saying his son in Germany is sending him Bayern t-shirts. I mean, you need fuel for the fire somewhere. What else?
What's up with Bayern?
What's wrong with Bayern? Everything's wrong with Bayern. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realise you were a Manchester United fan from the late 90s and early 2000s.
I was a Man United fan in the late 90s, actually, because I was a child and I got given Man United shirts all the time, so...
Okay, but, I just didn't realise that you were, a fan of the establishment.
Oh, here we go. I just like their shirts. They have nice shirts.
If we're talking German shirts, why can't we, love on the Werder Bremen and the Dortmund shirts?
Dortmund ones are the best of all time.
Yeah.
Dortmund are always the best of all time. So,
yeah.
Werder ones have gotten poorer in recent years. Back in the noughties, they were really nice, and now they're not so good anymore.
Fair. How you doing, Ash?
I'm all right. Totally didn't run up 4 flights of stairs to get here because I live on the top floor of a house now. So
I like the setup. I've not seen it before.
Yeah, I just moved house because I moved. Well, you know a lot. People in Discord know. Moved house about a month ago and only got internet in this bloody place this past Friday. So that was fun. But yeah.
Yeah, but the setup's good with all the Lions stuff in the background. And is that a Stilian Petrov jersey?
Yep, Stilian Petrov this season. We went down to the championship. He made his comeback. And then I've got the Detroit Pistons Stackhouse jersey in the background. It's like triple XL that I bought in a vintage store for 30 quid.
And if anyone can see, he's got a tiny little bit of room on the wall if you want to send him a Chelsea João Felix shirt.
No! Oh.
It's pronounced Chelscum.
Yeah, exactly.
Not the real CFC. That's us, by the way. When they ever chant that, it's like, you liars. We're older.
Yeah, it's true. Right, we ready to go?
Yeah.
All right. Get your questions in the chat, guys, and we'll answer them at the end of the show. Here we go.
Recording in progress.
Welcome to another edition of the Royal Alliance UK podcast, episode 283. I got a feeling that tonight's going to be a good night. My name's Matthew Turner, alongside Anthony Fitzpatrick and Ashley Soden. How you doing, boys?
Doing good. Glad to be back after a month-long hiatus due to internet problems.
You saw it before we came live. Why are you reacting like this now?
Because I didn't think you were going to do it. Like, why? If you're going to use a Good's name, why couldn't it have been something like clever, like Mitch a Good about nothing?
That was on my list. I had 2 that I was going to suggest. That was one. The other one was it's a good way to die hard. Exhausted my list of Mitchell Agude puns now. God damn, I'm going to have to think of new ones for the previews.
I'm sorry, Mitchell, but we're going to have to cut you if this is the level of puns that your name is going to give us. That's just, it's cuttable offence.
Would you prefer it's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's new life for me, and I'm feeling a good?
Right, let's stop this, please. We're going to drive everybody out the chat before we even start. So let's please not.
So good.
Us Brits are known for our good humour, not this.
A good humour.
Christ. Yes. All right, that's the show, everyone. Thanks very much for joining in. We'll see you next week.
It's taken 2 minutes. I'm already back on mid-season form.
Oh, I love it so much. We are, of course, here to review the Kansas City game. More importantly, we're here to talk about the players and how they did. But before that, don't forget to join our Discord channel. It's a really, really cool place to come and chat Lions all year round. Link is going in the live chat right now. We'd love to see you there. If you've never used Discord before, it's not scary. It's literally just a chat app community. It's very, very simple. College football podcast, and I know it happened, but it's not up yet, just coming to audio. But what did you talk about? What's coming up?
Oh, it was our second half of our Sunbelt preview. I ballsed up because I deleted half my notes whilst we were mid-show. Been an idiot, so I sort of had to keep stopping and starting, going to try and find all my sources and re-get everything together. So I've had to edit the hell out of this thing, and it's taken me forever, but it will be up eventually. So yeah, it's the Sunbelt preview end of, and then this week we're doing our predictions for the season because it's week 0. There's college football on Saturday, so we'll be doing all our predictions for the seasons. Who's going to be in the championship games? Who's going to be in the playoffs? Players, who's going to win all the awards? That sort of good stuff. So that's going to be fun. So come join us for that one. Let us know what you think is, you think who's going to be in those, and we'll see. We had a pretty bad year last year, so hoping we have a good second year.
12 days to go, isn't it? Until week 0 kicks off next Saturday? No, it's Thursday.
No,
next
Saturday.
This
It's this Saturday. Saturday.
Oh, for the Ireland game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We count.
Wow.
But there's about 7 games this week for week 0. Because of all the teams who have to play Hawaii, they get an extra bye week because of all the traveling, etc. So that's why you get so many games there. So, and then of course the Ireland game.
Awesome.
No idea who's playing. No idea who's playing in it. So you know.
Yeah, no idea at all who's playing.
Yeah, none whatsoever.
All right, check that out and more later on this week. Please don't forget to like this show, like this episode, sub to the podcast, all that good stuff. You know what to do. And you can find us on Lions Nation Unite, Home and More's project to bring the best in Lions content creators together. Also, Twitch-affiliated, YouTube monetized, tip jar as well, all in the YouTube description. If you want to show some love that way, that's great, but it's just good for us that you are here. Just smash the like button if you can. That would be more than enough. Merch store as well is up and about. Needs to have some refreshing done, actually, I think. But some of the old stuff is some of the gold stuff. And, the caps and the hats and the hoodies and stuff are really, really good. So if you do want to support the show but get something back, that's a good way to do it too. And it's in the live chat right now. Okay, a little bit of news to start with. Just some signings, some waivings and some injuries. So signed in the last 7 days, 2 cornerbacks, Asang Bassi and Javelin Guidry, thank you. Waived was the linebacker safety Deron Gilbert and the cornerback safety Maurice Norris. And injured pending an update, probably coming today at press conferences, which haven't happened. No, they would have happened by now. We're still pending an update on the wide receiver Traycon Smith and also offensive lineman Dan Skipper, who had to exit after, was it 1 snap or something?
So I think he got it right, like what appears to be a right ankle sprain, like the second snap of the game, and he came out after the first series and was replaced by Jamarco Jones.
There we go, who had a really good day. Anything you guys want to comment on with those guys? Because frankly, all I have to say is I am nonplussed about all of them, apart from Maurice Norris, who I thought had a shot and a really good off-season. It's just a shame that it has to end this way for him, really.
Yeah, like I half like the Guidry signing. Like that's why I know how to pronounce him, because I've been on him since he came into the league. This is a guy who's got legit 4.2 speed. I think he run 4.29 at the combine. So when you have to defend speedy receivers, it's the guy that has the potential to do it. Has he done it in the league? Not yet so far. Had a decent sort of rookie season or 2 with the Jets, who initially picked him up, but since then hasn't really done much. It's just, I think, it's just recycling the camp bodies. We need cornerbacks because they were all dropping like flies with injuries. We just needed bodies. That's why Jalen Reeves-Maven's been playing. That's why Hogan Hatton had to play linebacker against the Giants, just because we needed bodies there.
And any thoughts on signings, waivings?
I mean, it's kind of, we just get a lot of it at the minute, really, don't we? It's practice squad stuff. Yeah. Not really at the moment. It'll obviously next week where everything's going to kick off there. But like Gilbert struggled, so I don't think he was ever really gonna do much here, and then outside that, you say it's just unfortunate with injuries and that they've really piled up for us in this preseason so far. So we're probably going to have to, let some people go with comp and that, which is a shame. But yeah, nothing major at the moment.
All right, we'll move on to the game itself then. So the Lions win 24-23 with a walk-off field goal. Nate Sudfeld got the start once again for the Lions. Cue the yawns. 14 of 27 for 196, a touchdown and a pick. Hendon Hooker came in for the second half. 12 of 15 for 115, no touchdowns or picks. Did take a sack though. In the rushing game, the Lions went 31 for 117 and a touchdown, led by Zonovan Knight, 8 for 36, and Sione Vaki, 6 for 22. Also had a Hendon Hooker rushing touchdown in there in his 5 carries for 11 yards. One of those rushes also featured, and I do not hesitate by saying how much this meant to me, a fucking slide. Well done. Well fucking done. Receiving-wise, the Lions had 346 yards in the air, which is pretty damn impressive. Isaiah Williams led the team, 6 of 8 for 71. And Caden Davis had 2 of 7 for 64 and a touchdown, including a 61-yarder. Vaki caught everything thrown his way, 4 of 4 for 60. And Maurice Alexander was the only other player to break 32 yards or more, 2 of 3 for 40 yards. The Lions did suffer 3 fumbles. 2 were lost, 1 from Hooker, 1 from Geelong Calhoun. And then on defense, the Lions had a good day in TFLs, racking up 9 along with 3 sacks, all included in those 9 tackles for a loss. They were led in tackles by 4 people, all with 5. That would be Khalil Dorsey, Brandon Joseph, Abraham Beauplan, and Ben Neiman. The sacks came for Josh Pascal, Isaac Ukwu, and Matthew Betts. The TFLs came from Khalil Dorsey. Beauplan had 2, Agude had 2, Strickland had 1, and that's your lot. Kick returns, nothing really to write home about. 3 lots of 19 for Calhoun, Vaki, and Davis, and 27 for Tom Kennedy. Isaiah Williams was the punt returner, had 3 for 41 yards, including along with 20. And Jake Bates went 4 of 4 on field goals, including a 55-yarder and the game winner, but missed the extra point. Jack Fox had 4 punts for 216 yards, including a 71-yard kick. Unbelievable leg. Kansas City are who they are, and frankly, I don't think we care. What we do care about is that we recovered 2 fumbles. I don't actually have who forced those fumbles, but CJ Moore and Abraham Beauplan were the recoverers of those 2 fumbles. One of them was probably our own, from Isaiah Williams.
CJ Moore recovered the Isaiah Williams one, and the forced fumble, the other one was by Pascal, I think it was.
Thank you. Saving me as always. So, boys, just to start with a kind of high-level look, and what did you think of the game overall? Especially compared to last week.
Yeah, it was a lot more fun than last week. Literally came on, did the stream last week, was like, 2 rushing touchdowns and a field goal. That was literally it. There's nothing more I can tell you about. But at least this game, it was a lot more fun. And considering they played pretty much all their starters and we played nary a starter on ours, for us to come out and win it was really impressive. Like, the defense held up to their first string offense twice. I know they moved the ball well on us, but it didn't break, which we've done a lot in previous years. But it was just overall a lot better. The QB play was better. From Hooker it was. Sudfeld, it was still meh. But the offensive line was better. Thankfully, it gave the running backs a chance to at least do something this week. Like week 1, they were just given a hide into nothing. But this week, you had both Knight and Varkey doing well, which was good. Kept the guys upright. I don't believe there was a single sack given up in this game, if I remember rightly.
Hooker had 1 sack.
There was 1, wasn't there? Yeah. But overall, they were pretty good. Thought the defense was good. We had pressure. We got sacks on the quarterback, and again, we looked good in the bend not break scenario with them. And I thought they managed the game very well. I said last week I'd like to see give Jake more kicks. Doesn't really matter what you do with 4th downs in preseason. We're not going to show our hand on anything fancy or anything. So just let him kick, let him get his confidence up. 4 kicks on the day, all look relatively easy. There was the missed extra point, but hey ho, stuff happens. But that benefited him a lot. He just looks in some right form at this moment in time. And the team was, like I say, team was good. Got the ball back late on. It was fighting hard. A lot of these depth players are really showing out and giving us some difficult decisions to make coming into cut season next week. So I thought it was a very enjoyable game. Just spoiled by the worst commentary I've ever heard on any game of anything in my life ever. So I watched the second half in silence, and it was better.
Yeah,
Ash.
I agree. I had to, as soon as I put it on and I heard the Chiefs commentary and that, I was just like, nope, this is going on mute. After last week with the Giants, I was like, I'm not risking this. I'm just going to get infuriated by the focus. And as we saw when Hendon came in the start of the second half, all his first snaps, you just have that annoying little Kermit guy on the other side of the screen talking, making up BS about, oh, I was just pissed at Kelsey. That's why I did the backboard pass. No, you were just fucking shit scared because you're playing against our backups and you were still struggling, mate. So you had to pull out that and the fucking cut block against Isaac Okwu, who unfortunately had to go out for a bit as we get on to from that. Our second string going up against Patrick Mahomes, Kelsey, all their big stars, we stood toe-to-toe for them. Khalil Dorsey obviously got some national plaudits for going and keeping up with Xavier Worthy on a bloody go ball. This is a guy who set the combine 40-yard record, and we were staying step for step for him. Like, yeah, there were some bad plays. Sudfeld throwing an easy interception to Keith Taylor. What the hell are you doing? Like, Keith Taylor's not good. He was on the Panthers last year and was a third stringer. What are you doing? But yeah, for the most part, it's improvement from last week. And then we're getting there one more week now against the Steelers this Saturday. Some of these guys are really making a case for themselves. Most of all, Zay Williams, I know obviously had the fumble on the punt return, but at least it's a new Tom Kennedy. We can kind of leave that saga behind us now. We can have a new guy who actually has upside.
Yeah, I think the Mahomes stuff is overblown, and I'm really not going to make too much of it, because when Mahomes was in the game, we went 13-0 down. I think he went out of the game before we had our first points on the board. So I was encouraged that we held them to 2 field goals and only gave up a short touchdown because we fumbled the kickoff. Right? So, it's encouraging that we only gave up 2 field goals on the meaningful drives that we had. And yet, we were 13-0 down, and deservedly so, because they cut through us pretty easily. And we did bend and not break, and that's great. But I thought Kansas City on offense actually looked quite good. The fact that we managed to put together some point-scoring drives once Mahomes went out of the game, which really didn't affect their defense, I will say, and our offense started to put some points on the board, that was great. I really enjoyed what we put on tape. It's not to do down what we did in the entire game, but I do think we stood toe-to-toe with Mahomes is overblown or potentially slightly disingenuous. I like the bravado we beat a team that Mahomes played in, but it's not really telling the whole story, is it?
So for me, kind of was, because I know you're saying it. So it went out with that when we formed the punt. So it was 6-0. So it was 2 field goals for our backups on basically a whole quarter because the fumble. So they scored, so it thinks like 3:21. So let's say it's 3 minutes. We played in 12 minutes of it, and we held on 2 drives him to 2 field goals. They had some play against us, but one of those was quite a lot of those big plays were them suddenly pulling stuff out. For the most part, we were getting them to like 3rd and longs, and then it was just Mahomes would find something over the middle where we were weak. And even then, we got to the red zone. I think the first drive, wasn't it? They get pretty much right down to our goal line, and then Jalen Reeves Maven makes a great play in coverage to shut them down, and then they have to settle for a field goal. So that's why I'm blowing it up, because it's like they got scared on that second drive. They did a cut block that meant Okwu had to go out. They did the behind screen pass. They had to go less vanilla than they were supposed to. This is supposed to be just be a they play the first quarter, don't really do anything fancy, but they were like, hang on, we need to show ourselves here. And even then, because obviously they lost last week as well, they're 0-2 in the preseason. This ain't good. And yet, and then on the defense, yeah, they didn't have all the starters out, but they still had Chanel out there, who obviously I hate. I hate they turned out good because I was really down on him. They had him playing. They had their last year's first round pick in Felix and Zuma, who's well, can't pronounce his surname. Sorry. Yeah, they had him playing. They had quite a lot of their starters on defense playing as well. And yet we still kind of looked good. I was expecting it when I saw that. I was like, oh, God, it's going to be the first quarter and we're going to go in 21-0 down for us to go in basically 6-0 down when Mahomes and that actually left.
Yeah. No, don't get me wrong.
And it's our second string defense. Like, our starters are not out there. Like, there's no Hutch out there, going for pressures or anything. I mean, imagine if Hutch was out there. Isaac Ukwu made Kingsley Suamatai look like a chump.
Yeah.
What the hell did you think Aiden Hutchinson would have done to Kingsley? He would have absolutely bodied him on snap one. Like, the line got some good pressure, all things considered, considering the starters were out there. And like I say, our undrafted free agent guys made their big acquisition at left tackle look like, a 7th round rookie who'd never seen a snap in his life. So I think they did very well, all things considered. And I mean, our offense, I'm not going to say nothing because we had Sudfeld behind. So it's a bit difficult for us to score points when Nate's quarterbacking this damn thing. So, to be 6-0 down was, I think, incredibly good to get through the first stint with them. And I mean, until, Chris Oladukan came in, they had the better quarterback on the field, like at all points until Hooker came in. For us, Carson Wentz is better than Nate Sudfeld. Quite clear. Chris Oladukan is better than Nate Sudfeld. Like, they had a quarterback advantage for a big chunk of this game until Hendon came into it.
Yeah. I don't want to overblow the fact that I'm down on this because I'm not either. I thought we looked really good considering our second string defense. I just mean, I think some of the praise is exaggerated. That's all. I'm still very happy about what we put on tape. Let's go through the team just position by position to kind of give some thoughts on where we see the state of play for things. So obviously, let's start at quarterback, and Jared Goff obviously had nothing to do with this game. We did obviously see, as we have mentioned already, Nate Sudfeld and Hendon Hooker in the second half. No Jake Fromm, State Farm. But I hope I'm not controversial in saying these two statements together. I do not want to see Sudfeld throw another pass in a Lions jersey. I thought he played better in this game than in the previous one.
I can agree with that.
I mean, that's a very low bar. Like, that's like saying you're going from 1 out of 10 to 1.5 out of 10. But the quarterback play was good, I think, for the most part. I mean, Sudfeld's stats get blown up by that 60-yard touchdown, which was not him, it was Isaiah Williams.
Oh, it's still bloody good pass to get it on time, though.
Caden Davis.
Sorry, Caden Davis. I mean, it was all right, yeah. If it had been, it would have been nearly ready to be swallowed up by the linebacker, but it is inflated by that. Like, he got a lot of yak. He wasn't bombing it downfield or anything like that. So, and that was like 60 yards out of one play. So, but it was better. Obviously, I had to wait till Kansas's better defenders were coming off the field until it happened and until he started picking on second and third stringers. But hey ho, it is what it is. Hooker looked really good.
Really good.
And like I said, the most important thing is he started to slide and he started to protect himself. Maybe, I think it was just that first week, he was full of beans. He's eager to prove himself. Like, he's been out of action for a long time. He wants to show Lions faithful what he can do. And he thinks he'll win them over by trucking a linebacker, which, any quarterback who's ready to go to that length, of course, will endear him. But at the same time, we want him to stay healthy. So calm down, Hendon. It's preseason. You want to do that in season in a critical juncture, then whatever, go for it. But not now. But he learned from his mistakes very quickly. He looked very good with the ball. That there was just one pass that he maybe overshot, and that was really it. The rest of it was crisp. It was clean. It looked good, and we looked better with him on the field. So, Like the quarterback play overall was very encouraging from Hooker and better from Sudfeld, and it gave the receivers a chance. Like I said, week one, the receivers just were on a hide into nothing. They did not get a chance to prove themselves in the game, but this week's given them a better chance. The running backs had a better chance, and it's all down to the quarterbacks, which was good. So got to give them the dues for that.
Yeah, as I say, Sudfeld had that horrible interception throw, which is him going deep. I can kind of see what he's trying to do, but it was just underthrown. And I noticed the screenshots of I think it was Davis streaking free. That's because the safety's reading Sudfeld's eyes. He's going to jump the ball anyway. But yeah, he played a lot better than he did against the Giants. Let's put it that way. And again, I am kind of parroting Jeremy and the Pilot Detroit crew here by saying it, but it wouldn't surprise me if Sudfeld's back on the practice squad for the first couple of weeks, while Hendon still gets a few more reps because he looked better as well. Again, coming from the Tennessee system, which Ant said many a time is one or two looks, and if it's not there, then you run. He was going through his progressions really well from what I've watched. Admittedly, I've only watched it hurriedly the second half because I had to go to bed because I was in work the next day at 6 o'clock in the morning. Thank you, Sainsbury's. So I've only really watched a sort of like game in 40 for that. So maybe I didn't see it all, but I could see him going through his progressions a lot better. And yeah, when he was running, he was listening to his mum. He slid, which is great. Everyone kind of celebrated that. And then when it came to his Russian touchdown, it wasn't just, my first read isn't there, I'm going to tuck and run. He went 1, 2, 3. Okay, nothing's there. The space is there. I'm going to go rush it in. So a lot better processing from him as well, to the point where if we do decide just to get rid of Sudfeld and we just keep Hendon as QB2, I'm a lot happier about it than I was 7 days ago, a couple of weeks ago, where reports of camp were, he's showing flashes. You can see the potential there for a really good backup, but it's just not fully there yet. I think he really took that step forward against Casey and really put his claim to, yes, I could be a really good backup for us by the bye easily.
Many thanks to Big Area 70 subscribing at tier 1 for their 31st month. Appreciate you, man. Thank you. Hooker was so impressive. So there was one really obvious pass he missed, which was the sideline throw to
Reese.
Yes, thank you, Fountain. And then afterwards, he just looked on it. It wasn't just that he was getting through his reads. The passes were on time in stride the majority of the time. They were within the structure of the offense, but he showed the ability to run when things broke down. And he looked like a competent quarterback for the first time ever, because you can't call what he did in Tennessee competent quarterbacking in an NFL sense. He's never been one. And that was the first glimpse of him doing it. To the point where I kind of feel like, unless you do have a Carson Wentz, which we don't, if Goff goes down, I just think there's no chance of winning the Super Bowl. Maybe we get to the playoffs if Goff goes down after half a season and we can kind of limp to a wild card or something like that. But there's no realistic prospect of winning the Super Bowl, and that's really what we're all talking about here. So if Goff goes down, we're kind of done. And in that frame of reference, I'm okay with Hooker being QB2. Like, I know what people are saying in terms of wanting to make sure that you can maybe carry the game and whatever, but I'm sorry, are we not watching the same preseason games? Because Hooker's playing fucking better than Sudfeld is. What is all this chat about? Or maybe we'll have Sudfeld in for a couple of games or in the practice squad while Hooker comes up to speed. Why? It just seems totally unnecessary to me. I don't get it.
I mean, I guess it's all about earning your stripes. You know, Hooker's just coming back from injury. They're letting him get some game reps. I mean, you saw the rust in the first performance. And then you saw the rust has sort of gone by the second performance. So, you know, by game 3, you're probably going to see a scenario where if he doesn't come in as starter, you might see him in the second quarter, you know, get him some more time with the, not starters, but the higher level guys out there rather than repping with the threes all the time. But I just think it's their way of blooding them into this team. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like, all football is good football for him. And, you know, we're in no hurry. So, you know, preseason's it's a short time. It's 2 weeks. It's here and gone. If we bring him in slightly and surely, then that's great. But it's worked so far. He looked good in game 2 because they didn't just throw him in there and ask him to do tons of stuff. They've just let him get acclimated. And if he comes in game 3 now and starts and does well, then mission accomplished. Don't need Sud anymore.
Yeah. So again, to parrot the Pride of Detroit crew, mainly I think it was no, it was Ryan who said it. It was Campbell's comments after the game. The reason people are saying keep stud fellas round is Hooker's getting better at the stuff we can visibly see ourselves and the mechanics in that. It's the pre-snap stuff. So there was a moment with Hooker where he was late getting the call in, and then we had to rush the line. It's that kind of stuff where Sudfeld can get the play in and communicate it to everyone else. Right now, Hooker can't.
So I'm sorry if I don't want Sudfeld managing to communicate a call where he can throw to the cornerback rather than our own bloody player.
Yeah,
I'd rather Hooker have to take a timeout.
Sarcasm is unbecoming of you, Matt.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, but it's just stuff. Yeah, so supposedly it's just the pre-snap stuff, getting people in the right position, getting the call into everyone else, which will come because again, Hooker's coming from a college system where it's you look at a sign and everyone's kind of got it there. Like everyone has got risk coaches on. He's the guy that's having to get it all the protection in. Everyone in the right place. It's just getting him again, but it'll be the snaps and just doing it in practice. So he'll get there. It's basically getting him from playing Madden on rookie to playing it on at least all pro.
I mean,
isn't Connor Stallions coaching in Detroit now? We could get him to come in and help out. Like he'll give Hooker all the advantages that he needs.
Well, what about this as a take? Hooker is playing quarterback 3 at the moment because he doesn't have the first team offensive line ahead of him who would be his biggest asset. I actually think that if you had the first team offensive line that he would be QB2 because he'd have Frank and Graham on the offensive line helping him out with the protections and the play calling and all of that sort of stuff. They're veteran heads on. That's kind of part of their job.
Yeah, but at the same time, we don't want him scrambling all the time. Like we want to teach Hendon Hooker to stay in the pocket and throw the football, not to run for his life every play. We saw that in week 1. He was running around a lot, and he was, let's say first read gone. He's off running, and ideally you don't want him to do that. It's what the Bears did with Fields. Like Fields was never able to have a time in Chicago where he could sit in the pocket and develop his pocket awareness. He was always running, so it was always quick read, not there, gone. We don't want Hendon Hooker to become Justin Fields.
Yes.
We want Hendon Hooker to become good. So ideally, you want him behind the first team offensive line because they will protect him and allow him to become a better pocket passer, which is what we need him to be. So, like putting him with the 3s for me, it was fine to begin with. Now it has outlived its use. He needs to get behind a better line to be given better protection because Sudfeld, for the most part, was given good protection in this game. And we want Hooker to have that so he can sit there and sling it like we know that he can. We don't want him running.
Going into the running backs now, in order of snaps taken, many thanks to Pride of Detroit for tracking it for us. Jake Funk took the majority of the reps of 29, that was 38%. Vaki had 26, which was 34%. Zonovan Knight, 14 for 18%, and Craig Reynolds, 8, which was 10%. The people who obviously did not take reps included Jamar Jefferson in that room, who I would probably put in there as the big loser out of that group. Just he's out with injury at the moment, isn't he? So that's a real shame for him, given how much he's come on in camp. But what did you guys make of the running back room? Because it certainly had a bit more life to it this week.
It was good. I mean, this is where we're going to have trouble when cuts come. Because for me, Bam Bam showed why you want him on your roster. He got a lot of hard, tough yards in this game. And like I would love him as like the short yardage back who comes in and gets those tough yards that we want and can make something out of nothing. He played incredibly tough in this game. But obviously you've got Craig Reynolds in there. Varkey's all but cemented his place in there now. So it's going to be very difficult to justify taking 5 people there, probably nigh on impossible, but we saw the Zonovan that we know he can be. He's NFL experienced, and that's why our room is so stacked and deadly. But I would love to see him given a lion's share in preseason game 3 to really put his claim forward for it. But he looked good. Varkey looked great again. They seem to have hit on that so far. Obviously, playing in the NFL against first teamers is a different kettle of fish, but preseason returns are promising. Like I say, it was better. Several guys started to stand out in this, and I say it's intense competition, but it'll make sure we've got a damn good running back room this year, like all the way down to whoever's bottom of the depth chart.
Yeah, and I know it could be it'd be a nice segue maybe to the receivers, but just that 2-minute drive at the end of the first half, have we found Theo Riddick 2.0 that is better? Because all of his catches came on that drive, 60 yards. He counted for most of the yardage in that drive. It was just Texas route, flat route, Texas route, just hitting him consistently, targeting the linebackers, and it was filthy. This is for a guy who's had less than 100, 200 snaps at running back. Bloody hell. If this is what he is now, with a bit of time to develop, he can work on the pass blocking, work on actually the ball carrier stuff. Not saying he's ever going to be like a Jahmyr Gibbs or anything like that, but if Gibbs goes down, you can get 80, 85% of what he is from Varkey with a lot of special team stuff as well. That's pretty damn good to hit on in the 4th round. And yeah, as much as I don't want to give any props to any NC State Wolfpack members, some of them did look really good. And if he's not here, if he goes somewhere else, he's going to be a good RB2 pretty much across the league. Hell, he might be, because I know the Panthers RB1 right now, Jonathan Ford is still out with his injury. He might be their RB1 going into the season if he goes there, for instance.
I thought 9 looked really good. I'm not going to say he didn't. I do think that he is potentially redundant with Montgomery potentially taking 35 to 40% of the snaps. And that is really what Montgomery is going to do. It's the same argument with Craig Reynolds.
I mean, he'd be fighting out Craig Reynolds, which is a tough assignment on its own.
It is, but I think that Reynolds does more in pass protection. I think Reynolds potentially does more in the pass game as well. I do think Knight is a more effective runner generally, but only marginally. Reynolds can, if he sticks his head down and drives, you saw the 4th and 1 he did last year. he is able to do that power stuff.
I guess it all depends on what you want, really. Do you do you want a better option in short yardage maybe, but maybe not get some of the other bits you do, or it all depends on what you want, really. But he's still here. He had that bad injury and they've kept him round. So it's like Jamar, there's a reason they're still here, and if they're probably evaluating all the options with him. So, but it's a fun problem to have. When Brad first came here, you could just name all the running backs off the get-go who we're going to get in now. It's we've got a lot of these guys that were arguing about depth running backs. That's how good the roster is now. So
I do think Vaki is the big winner out of the group, just because he put something on tape that people can believe in. All of it's just been hype up until now, but the running looked great. He looked shifty. He had good vision. The pass catching is just legit. There's route running to develop, right? And there's route development to do as well. So he can do a little bit more out the backfield and maybe flex out into a wide receiver position. All of that stuff is to come. He's a long way from that. But I wouldn't be scared putting him out there on a very limited snap basis if he was RB4. Just because I think it would be oh, okay, we have to keep eyes on him. He's in the game, even if it's 2 or 3 snaps.
I mean, you need to packages.
They need to be able to block, though. I don't know what his blocking's like yet.
It's coming on. He put a couple of good reps on tape in pass protection, but he's not the finished package.
And I think this is causing a problem, because if he carries on being as good as a receiver as he is, given that we're having notable issues with receiver at the minute currently, it's what do you take him as? Like, do you take him as running back 4, or do you slide him in as the last wide receiver on the roster, or like it's? I guess you take him as the running back, but again, if he's not going to get much carries, because obviously Monty and Gibbs are going to get like the vast majority of carries, you might well end up deploying him more as a receiver early on, like putting him in there for that.
Then it's Isaiah Williams' issue with he'll be slot free.
But that's what I mean. That's what I mean. It's like it's created a problem. Like, every problem is a good problem when you're talking about competition for places have been good, but is the competition now? He might not like take him as the last wide receiver, and take Zonovan Knight in your running back room with you or something like that. Then it gives you another little niche to the system. Because they're making all sorts of worrying noises about receiver at the minute, and it's well. I know it's all over. I think there's a lot of hyperbole in here. I don't really trust it much myself, but people are making noise. So like maybe Varkey goes, because again, like if he is good as a receiver, use him as one. He's not going to see much as a running back, and Craig Reynolds is going to be running back 3. So take him as a receiver, take Zonovan, and just proper load up on your skill positions if you really are struggling that much. He's showing himself as a receiver.
And I mean, the thing about Vaki in terms of game tape that we're seeing is that he hasn't caught a pass from Goff yet, who's actually better at throwing the routes that he's running. So he could be even more of a force, potentially. We'll see. But anyway, let's move this on to the tight end position. And the leading snap taker was James Mitchell with 30. That was 39% of snaps. Then Sean McKeown with 27. That was 35%. And then Zylstra and Hesse with 23 each. That was 30%. Boys, what did you make of the tight end position, Ash?
Told you so on Parker Hesse. Ever since we signed him in that rookie minicamp and he was taking steps fullback, I was like, we need to keep an eye on this guy. Like, I know he had one of the least snap counts. He was the only one of them to take snaps at fullback. I think he's really found himself a role now as that sort of tight end 3 where he can play H-back. He can slide in and do the blocking on the line if you need him to in 3 tight end sets. And he can catch the ball. He's not exactly the greatest receiver of anyone. I don't think he actually caught a ball this week. I know he did last week, but he's gone from afterthought kind of like, oh, we've already just signed him as a camp body to someone I pretty much as a roster lock now. And the good news with that snap count as well is obviously Mitchell getting the most snaps, and he looked pretty good. Like, I know he was someone that we were worried was probably going to be on the outs, as someone we kind of picked out as the first time. I know I did the rookie thing on him, but Anton Wright talked about him in the process before, someone that could be a really good tight end. I know in the first season, blocking was 100% there, but never dropped a pass. And then last year, because the emergence of Laporte and Wright being that good, he kind of just fell by the wayside. It was good to see him kind of get the snaps and look good because, yeah, right now, him and Zylstra are really fighting for a spot. Zylstra is the better receiver. Mitchell is just about the better blocker. So it might come down to who looks better now on Saturday, because the other one's probably going to go to the practice squad, but there's a large difference between being on the practice squad and not really getting much snaps on game time, or being tight end 4, probably getting maybe 10, 15, 10 snaps a game on offense and then quite a lot on special teams.
Yeah, it's a very competitive room, which is good. Like, week 1, they all had one target. They all had a catch. They're all catching everything that's thrown their way. You know, the blocking's coming on. It certainly looked a lot better this week as well. Now the rust's getting out the system. So yeah, it's an encouraging room. And again, we're talking about the depth positions, and you know, we've got our starters in there, the guys we need, and we're just incredibly competitive behind. And so it's one of those positions we've, you know, highlighted for a while where there's a lot of strength in depth, and there's going to be a lot of fierce competition for it, and whoever comes along is going to have earned their spot. So they've been very good. They've been very positive, and we should have a really good room going into next year.
It's a really weird situation with these tight ends because I don't have Hesse as a block by any stretch. I do think that he's put himself in with a shot. But if I had to say right now who I thought it was going to be, I'd probably say Mitchell and Zylstra. I think Mitchell has been the most impressive of the tight ends through preseason games. Like, when the pads have come on, when the real hitting has started, I feel like he's kind of backed himself a little bit and actually, he's made some tough catches and he's put some good blocks out there. So, from being the guy that I thought was maybe near the bottom of the rankings, he's kind of shot up again for me. So, I wouldn't be surprised to see it be Mitchell and Zylstra, who we all thought was 3 and 4 coming into this process. So, we'll see. Hesse does have a feather in his cap because of the fullback stuff, but Rodrigo can do it. There will probably be other people that... Brock Wright is the guy who's going to get those reps. Let's not screw about here. Brock Wright has done that last year, and he's not playing in the preseason particularly much. So, Hesse doing it is like, okay, you're our backup doing that anyway.
Yeah, but then you need a good blocker for, because on I formation you have 2 tight ends on line anyway, don't you? So that'll be Sam and Brock. So unless you're pulling then, who would you have as the other tight end in line if Brock's playing fullback?
Good question. I mean, I'd probably have Zylstra and Mitchell. So, I agree with Zylstra in terms of blocking and it not being fantastic, but you're talking about the guy that had the best of all of the PFF blocking stats in this game. I'm not saying PFF is all that, but I am saying that they said he was the best blocking tight end on the field for the Lions in this game. So that's positive if you want to frame it like that. I'm not going to say that that's the be-all and end-all, but I am a fan of putting the best guys on the field, and right now for me that's Mitchell and Zylstra. So... Anyway. Lisa says, until he is injured, Matthew. Yeah. Oh. Come on, James. You can do it. Or Zylstra. Works for both. Wide receivers. They're taking the most reps in this game. Isaiah Williams with 36. That was just under half the reps. Donovan Peoples-Jones with 33. Caden Davis 32. Maurice Alexander 31. Doris Fountain 27. Tom Kennedy and Jelon Calhoun 17. And Traquan Smith 9 before his injury. First team wide receivers were Caden Davis, Donovan Peoples-Jones, and Tom Kennedy. And what did you think of the wide receiver performance? Because it was a big day for, well, I guess one guy in terms of just overall performance and one guy in terms of a big touchdown, but there were some poor performances in there as well.
Yeah, and it's kind of been the theme we've seen all preseason, off-season, that the sort of rookie guys, the undrafted guys, the guys who've not really been around have been the ones who've been performing, and the vets are the ones who've really been struggling. And now you're having some issues in terms of maybe who you're going to take here. But obviously, you mentioned the one guy, Isaiah Williams. This was his game. Like, coming into preseason, it said it's all been very well and good that he's done this in camp and stuff like that, but you've got to translate it into games and show that you can do it in the games as well. And he was so impressive in this. And again, all this is said with a pinch of salt, with you're not playing against ones, etc. like that, but just every time the ball came to him, he was open. Like, the route running was just so good. The ability to separate was so good. Yak was good. And it's getting to the point now where he's had a good preseason. He's had a good off-season. He's done everything that you've physically asked of him at this point. I think they've even been using him in the backfield as well, haven't they? End around stuff like that. So they're very trusting of him. And it's at the point now where you can't really keep him out of the 53. Now, I see all this discourse online that from Beat Rise and stuff, oh, well, his job's done by Raymond and stuff like that. I don't really care. If you've got 7 elite slot receivers and 7 bang average outside wide receivers, you take 7 slot receivers and you just figure out what to do with them in this. You take the best players you have available to you. This discourse that we might let Isaiah Williams go just because someone else on the team does his job is bogus. Like, you take him. The guy has come here. He has done everything you have asked of him from day one up to the games at this point. To just cut him because, oh, sorry, someone else does your job. Well, why the hell did you have him in the first place? You know what kind of receiver he is. You know what he's going to be on this team. Why bother? So you take him. And I think he's done just about enough now to say, well, you know, Traquan Smith, once again, is he alive? Is he dead? I don't know. He could be. We just have no idea. Like Donovan, I'm not down on him as other people. I think when he's made every catch that's really been thrown his way. He's made some big plays. It's not been consistent, but he's been all right. But then outside of that, it's, like Alexander looked better. Varkey looks good as a pass catcher, as I say. This is why I think Varkey can break into the wide receiver rotation if you're not going to use him too much there. And obviously, Caden Davis had his one big play as well. But I think Williams is the one who's really knocking the door down right now. And I just don't think you can keep him out at this point after everything that he's done for us. I say, any talks of cutting him because others do what he does is bogus. If he's the best player, you take him. You figure it out later.
I agree with keeping Williams, but at the same time, even then, he'll be wide receiver 6 for me because, he's looked really good this preseason and he does stuff on special teams, though all the snaps he took on special teams were as a return. He didn't do anything in terms of the actual, coverage game. But I'm not, let's say, keeping him at the expense of someone like Donovan Peoples-Jones or Caden Davis because it's great having 3 slot receivers, but then when you've only got 2 guys who can play on the outside, well, 2.5 with Amon-Ra, let's say, because I know he takes snaps on the outside as well, but you one injury away on the outside from basically being back to this point again, and perhaps not having your pick of the bunch then, because we might cut Donovan Peoples-Jones and he might go, again, I'm going to say Carolina, because it just seems their roster is so bad that whatever scraps we cut, they could easily pick up and they'll probably start for them. He could go to Carolina and be the starter opposite Adam Freeland for them. We need to still have an option at the X, which is, I know why certain websites today put the idea out there of signing veteran guys like Julio Jones for that role, just because that's the one role we don't have on this team right now, which is why I've been banging on about it for so long. We just need someone who, in the red zone, Amon-Ra can do it, Sam Porter can do it, just someone who can consistently do it on the outside. And I know we haven't really seen it this preseason, partly because DPJ's been playing with Sudfeld, who fires the ball 10 yards over his head. I know Caden Davis looked really good, but again, one kind of lucky catch where he snagged it away from a linebacker and then managed to get a load of yak. We just need someone to do that, and yet he might be to the point where, we just cut our losses and then look at the free agency pool, cut downs and see if we can get someone else. Bobby Trees, for example, probably on the outs in Houston, knows Jared Goff from the LA Rams days, can be a consistent Josh Reynolds-like guy, but he's getting on a bit. He would only probably take a 1 or 2 year deal. We just need someone there. So, I'm all for keeping Isaiah Williams, even as wide receiver 6, because, you can count on him to maybe take 10 snaps a game slot if we need to move Amon-Ra out wide for a game. We put Williams in the slot, or at a push, put him at the Z. But we need that X role, and you can't, if it does come down to Isaiah, you keep an Isaiah Williams at cut downs, or you're keeping DPJ. I'd probably do side with keeping DPJ just because he does something that no one else on this roster does, and you're more likely to maybe get him, but you're more likely to get Isaiah Williams through on waivers than you are DPJ, because he's a proven X receiver in the league. I know obviously it was one season with the Browns where he had Jarvis Landry and Amari Cooper playing with him where he got like 900 yards. He's at least done it in the league, while Isaiah Williams playing against third stringers, people are more likely to pick up DPJ than they are Isaiah Williams, who can maybe get Williams through on the practice squad, and then if something happens to him, we can bring him up. So I'm more on the fence with the debate between an X receiver and Isaiah Williams. I'm more on the fence with it than you are.
Goes against the ethos of his team building.
It really does.
Brad said very, very, very clearly, and he does it with his draft prop, doesn't matter if you've got a player at the position already, you hoard talent and you work around that. If they feel they're lacking someone on the outside, they'll go to the market and get them, but they won't take someone who's not performed like DPJ over someone that has performed like Isaiah Williams. It goes against every ethos they have of building this team. basically just says to these guys, well, yeah, you never really had a shot in the first place, and we don't operate that way. So,
But we're going to have to, because at that point we have to get to 53 somehow. And
I mean, we've
we're gonna
lost
have
Josh
to,
Reynolds from last year. That's it. We're forgetting we were the third best offense in the NFL. We've lost Josh Reynolds. That's it.
and we
Like,
haven't replaced him. That's the issue. That's what I'm saying. We don't have that Josh Reynolds role, and he was fundamental to how his offense worked. We don't have that guy like, wasn't it 3 touchdowns that Reynolds has last season where he snuck through the backs of the end zone and caught the sort of high ball from Goff? We don't have someone that does that. So yeah, we've only lost one piece, but that was a very key piece that we've lost, that X receiver, that how this offense works. So as I say, I want to keep Williams, but if I have to, it's literally between Williams and DPJ. I'm keeping DPJ because he does something that no one else on the roster does. Well, yeah, and we have to get to that point now where we will have to cut good players. We've said it with the running backs. We're probably going to have to cut Jake Funk, who looks good. Might cut Jamar Jefferson, who's looked good. Hell, if push comes to the shove, we might cut Craig Reynolds, who's been a very good servant here.
No
and
chance. No chance of it. Come off it.
We're getting to that point now where, yeah, we have to sort of go against that ethos that we said a couple of years ago, because it's all good. You can't just hoard all the talents in the world because you have 53 players and you have to fill 25 starting roles and then have backups for those positions. It is getting to that point now where we might have to cut players who look very damn good and be like, sorry, but this is how it is.
If DPJ had earned his way onto this team, then that point holds valid, but he hasn't.
If DPJ had earned his way onto this team, he'd be paid more than $1.3 million.
Well, we'd not be having this conversation. If he'd looked amazing, we'd all say that he'll go above Isaiah Williams on this roster.
Who's been his QB for both games?
Yeah, but he's had time here on the roster last year.
All of the wide receivers have that problem.
Preseason. Yeah, they all do. Like,
they're all playing with those
last year. None of them got a look in last week.
Okay,
really.
So let me give you all a different opinion, which is someone that you've all mentioned, but not necessarily someone that you're saying is in contention or maybe even the guy. I'm going Caden Davis. I think Caden Davis should get the spot right now. If I'm picking the 53, spoiler alert, we're picking our 53-man predictions on Thursday. Extra show on Thursday, 53-man roster prediction. Caden Davis at the moment, and I respect to the right to change my mind by Thursday, but right now, from a first watch, Caden Davis is in for me. He consistently makes big plays. Okay, fine. That one big play, he snagged it from a linebacker. Okay, but what was he meant to do? Not do that? Like, he made a great play, and he's been consistently making those plays all the way through camp. Every single game, I think it was Jeremy who said it, every single scrimmage, there seems to be something he does which is big. That used to be said about Fountain. I think Fountain's star is fading, which is a real shame for me because he was the guy I was really pulling for. But for me, it's between Davis and Williams. Peoples-Jones is not even in the argument for me. I do not think I would be thinking about him. It just has been so disappointing that I would be tempted to cuss him right now because I don't trust him. And it all comes down to trust. Davis runs reliable routes, he's got good hands, and he can break away from people. He offers a different skill set to Williams. And I am with Ant. You don't just cut people because they have a similar skill set to what you have. Here's why the Khalif Raymond argument is bullshit, and it's one that I lament as a Raymond stan. You can't say that Williams does Raymond's job when Raymond barely has a role on the offense. He barely plays. He plays like 10% of the snaps or 15% of the snaps on offense, and otherwise he's a specialist. There is a role to be a backup to Amon-Ra as a slot receiver. Raymond, frankly, can back up all of the positions, but Williams could be the number one slot backup, and actually probably could just play on the outside and just be a bit of a gadgety guy. I think that's possible. Or play Amon-Ra 65% of the time on the outside and play Williams as a starting slot. I'm okay with it.
Or we could do what Mike Payton suggested and trade Raymond and a 5th-round pick for Tay Walker, who's never played a snap in the NFL.
Oh, for God's sake.
He got some tap for that, and rightly so. Like, Jesus Christ.
I admit Mike's hustle. as someone generating A to Z sports from the ground up, he's doing a heck of a job because Scott was talking about it. And I appreciate.
I can get you something. I can do that. I can get you talking about it. Let's just all go.
Are you
Let's
saying
give
you can make
Raw.
RawTheLionsUK.com as big as A to Z Sports for the Lions by putting up that stuff? Because if you can, I'm here for it.
I can make our
here.
Twitter bigger than his. We'll do that. Shit talk with the best of them.
I love what Mike's done, just because it's kind of a bit clickbaity like Woodward's, but without the shit.
No, I'm sorry, but Raymond and a fifth for Tay Walker is
good.
very...
It's good crack.
Yeah, yeah, that's some good stuff. That's pure Colombian, as they say.
Right. Let's move on to the offensive line and start with tackle. Sawsdall took every snap, 77. Manu had 40, that was just over 50%. And then Jamarco Jones had 29, the new signing, and Dan Skipper went off after 8 snaps before his injury. So not quite the second snap, but pretty bloody close. Boys, tackle position. Sawsdall played every snap, and Manu played a significant amount of the snaps, some against some starters. I thought they looked all right. Ash.
Yeah, admittedly, again, I only really saw the first half in depth, so maybe I saw more Skipper and Jamarco Jones. And yeah, Skipper, obviously, the unfortunate injury, right ankle sprain, but obviously, supposedly, it was probably going to happen anyway, according to, I think it was Eric who said it in the article. It probably was going to happen anyway, but yeah, Sawsdall wasn't perfect. I think he gave up a hold at one point, but again, for someone who was a day 3 pick out of a D2 school last year, for him to look fairly decent against starters.
FCS, surely. Aren't Williams and Mary FCS?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
FCS. Oh, fine. D1 FCS then.
Sorry, I just, considering
You want
you're
to do
the
a-
anal
Wow.
guy who gets
Not
things
even-
right,
yeah,
I
not-
just wanted to put you right.
You're doing me, you're doing
Not
me.
even I did that. I'm the college guy, and I didn't do that to him.
I
But
deserve
Ash
it.
does it to us every time.
Exactly. I deserve it. I deserve it. But yeah, he looked really damn good, as did his, because I did get to say it, as did his former teammate who unfortunately I cursed. I'm sorry, Nate. Jamarco Jones looked good for someone who was battling to be Tennessee's starter at tackle last off season. You can kind of see why he's not perfect, but he looks good. And then Manu, improvements on last week for sure. Saw some better stuff. Again, wasn't perfect. If we ever need to start him in a game, God help us. But you can see the small little steps in progression, and hopefully he'll eventually get there. But yeah, for me, Sawsdall was a standout player in every snap, looking pretty decent.
And
So yeah, Sawsdall looked good. He's getting there. He's in the same position as Broderick in that, like, he's year 2. You know, you're wanting to start to see the shoots of improvement when it comes to their technique, when it's, you know, comes to their development in general. And week 1 was tough, but he was playing next to Boetka, who was fucking awful. Him and Burton have actually looked really good together on that side. But he's coming along. He's probably where we want him to be at right now. He'd probably come in, play a relief role for us, and he'd be all right. But you do see the odd snap where he's getting beat. But hey, it's fine. He's a second-year guy coming from a small school. It takes time, so you know we're gonna take that there with him. Manu is paying PFF to up his grades because he is nowhere near as good as what they've been grading him out to be. Week 1, he was horrible.
week 1 he was terrible. He was a
This week he was a bit better. He still gave. I don't know why he's gone unpressured this week. He did give up several pressures, and I saw them. The technique is poor. Again, I guess we know to expect it because the level of opposition he's coming up against is vastly superior. But you know he can be caught. He can be caught dead on his feet at times. He really struggles with speed rushers, guys who've got better technique, etc. And as I say, there's no way we want to be relying on him in a game situation against bona fide NFL pass rushers because it'll just be a one-sided affair. But Again, with someone, he's coming from Canada, you want to see little bits of improvement every week, and that's where you want to be at. And he did hold up better overall than he did in week one. But if anyone was under any sort of illusion that he was going to maybe see the field and provide something year one, then you've been reminded that that's just not going to happen. So yeah, he struggled in there. Jamarco Jones looked good. Like I say, that there's always been hype over him. Injuries have screwed him up, and then the disciplinary stuff last year really screwed him up. But and again, we come back to the talk about the offensive line every week. There's just such a lack of quality depth there right now that if he carries on the way that he is, like he vaults up to one of your top two backups very quickly, like with Awashika, because he's played in the NFL and he's got an innate talent to be able to do so. So, in a small sample size, it was good. Hopefully, he gets a few more snaps this week. Like, I'd play him in front of Manu and give him a few more snaps than Manu this week. So we need to see if he's good to go for this season, and we could take him as part of the depth. So I really want to see him play a lot more this week. But early signs were positive. So the tackle stuff, they're going in the right direction, but they are still a ways away yet. But it was better, and that's all you can ask for.
Completely agree with you, so I won't add any more to that. Instead, we'll go straight to guards and centres. The starting three were Awasika, Aguakun, and Nice. They accounted for 37 snaps apiece. That was 48%. The second stringers for the second half were Duke Clements, Brian Hudson, and Jake Burton. 40 snaps each. That was 52%. Ant, coming straight back to you first. Interior offensive line. I mean, I thought it was a pretty good day all told. Pass protection and run blocking too.
Jake Burton has looked very good. You can tell that he's been playing football recently. Obviously, he's had all this stuff with the Michigan Panthers, and he looks game ready. He looks like he's already in season shape, and he's been very good with Sorsdal on that right hand side. And for me, he's put himself in that conversation now as guys you want to take, especially if we're gonna IR Mahogany or put him down to Brett squad, whatever, and he's not going to be ready to go right away. Like, Burton's putting himself in conversation to be able to go out there and potentially take one of these spots going forward now. I think he's looked terrific. So work to do with his run blocking, but in pass protection, he's been damn good, and been watching him very closely in pass protection. It's like Aguakun at centre. I think he's been good. He has some obvious deficiencies when it comes to his leverage, and there's been a few times he struggled. But in the run blocking specifically, like if I needed to bring him in on some run blocking reps, like Aguakun's look really good as well, considering these are mostly like guys from the UFL and guys who've coming from undrafted free agency, etc., who've not had much game time together. I feel like they've been executing the double teams really well. I feel like they've created room for them to run this week. Again, it was a tough first week, but knocking the rust off, getting those game reps in for some of them, it's the first time they've done it. So I think quite quickly it's come together, and it's been positive, especially, as I say, as far as Burton goes, as far as Aguakun goes. I think it's been good stuff, and I've enjoyed seeing it. So hopefully that carries on, because we need this O-line competition to be as fierce as possible, because I still worry about the depth overall, but we're trending in the right direction, which is what we want with preseason.
Ash?
Yeah, I agree. As much as I want to rag on the former Stinky Gator, especially since he was my least favourite out of the three when we looked at the UDFA centres, he has looked pretty damn good in the run game. I know, obviously, he technically didn't give up the pressures, but he's the one that PFF accredited with pretty much all the pressures this week, with 2 hit in a hurry, but it is what it is. He's got all the physical tools there to be a really good backup centre. It's just getting the technique right, and if anyone can do that, it's Hank. With the other guys, I know Clements is technically playing out of position at left guard, but he looked really good in pass pro. So did my personal favourite, Brian Hudson out of Louisville. But Arasika, he's gone from someone who, when we first had the discussion way back about the 53, and I was kind of and ahhing about having there, he's kind of the lock now as sort of the top interior backup. I know we can't play centre, but he's looked pretty damn good both games. And if Graham or let's say Zeitler's not fully back for week 1, and we need to sort of slide Graham over to right guard and put our Seeker in at left, I won't be as anxious about it as I would have been perhaps a couple of weeks ago. And then, yeah, like everyone else, look, Jake Burns definitely making a case to stick around. Hell, he might push someone off and be like sort of O-line 9-10 when it comes to cut downs. Like we've got, it's not even going to be like great depth just because that never exists, just because good O-linemen don't grow on trees, unfortunately. But it's getting to the point where if it is like last season and the season before, where it's particularly on the interior, we kind of need to rotate people because Frank might need to miss a game or Zeitler's not 100% for week 1 or something happens to Graham. I'm a lot happier bringing someone up than I would have been at the start of camp, where it's like we maybe have Arashik who's shown some stuff. Skip slid in before and he's kind of looks okay, but other than that, we're really scared. Now I'm it's still a bit of a worry just because it always will be, but I'm less anxious than I was a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, it's really interesting to have a look at this, actually. I think our Seeker is my number 1 backup interior guy, but I do think that Burton is applying pressure to Mahogany's spot. Yeah. That's where this comes. If Burton's going to make the roster, it's going to come at Mahogany's expense. And that's going to be a real shame because I know that we all really believe in him, especially Ant, but we all think highly of Mahogany. And the other person I think is really highly of is Nice. To be honest, he's played with the first team. I thought he looked very good. He's been repping consistently either as a first team centre when Ragnow hasn't been around, or as a second team centre, or as a guard position if Agurakun's in that second team centre spot. So he's showing off his versatility, but also, I mean, he was going up against some starters in that defensive line of Kansas City. I thought he held up very well. So there are several people in that interior really stepping up. I do think there's only one really big loser from this game in the centre and guard spots, which is going to be Brian Hudson, just because his bad snap is the one that led to the fumble from Hooker in the first place. And I know it's one snap, and he's a UDFA, but you can't be making that sort of mistake in the red zone in this situation. You know, sometimes those snaps just get magnified. When you have 3D UDFA centers, you can't be making that mistake.
Yeah, if you make a bad snap, then you're off Matt's roster. We know how much Matt cares about his snaps. So.
I'm a snap stan.
We're getting to that later.
Yeah, you snap bad, then you do. Quick one about Nice. Nice has positional versatility over the rest of them. Like that's where his leg up comes, because he will play center as well. Aguakun plays at center only, and Burton only plays at right guard only. But again, I feel better having these conversations now than I did at least even a week ago. So
Burton, I think Burton's played everywhere but center in his career.
I can't even remember where he played in college, but
I think he played left guard, right guard, and right tackle for the Panthers.
Yeah, I think the only position he hasn't played is centre.
Yeah.
If I remember rightly. Anyway, just before we rattle on with the defense, just wanted to let you guys know about the upcoming shows that we are doing, because we are very rapidly coming up to the season, and that means that we are coming up very soon to 2 episodes a week. We have a bonus episode this week on Thursday, which is our 53-man roster prediction show. We will know our 53-man roster in 8 days' time. 8. Next Tuesday is the cut down day. So, we're on Thursday, predicting the 53. We will then be delaying our show next week from Monday to Tuesday, so that we will be with you live throughout cut down day. So, when we hear news about players being cut down, about other teams cutting players that we might be interested in, we will be here breaking that all down with you, so I hope you can join us for that. Then, the week after that, so the September the 2nd, we will be doing our season prediction show. And then we are in to 2 episodes a week. Week 1 preview, September 5th. And then the Rams game after that. I can scarcely believe it, boys, but we're almost there. But a special bonus episode this week, and I can't wait for it. Just a stop talking about some of these backup guys. We've got Frank the Tank in the chat talking about next man up mentality and, wanting to talk about the starters of this team and shedding 27 names from the 53-man roster. Obviously, we get 16 back. But, it's the start of real football happening because we actually get to see who our team believes in those backups. All right, let's get on with the defense. Starting at the defensive tackle position and working outwards. Only 3 players at DT because we're going to nominally put Josh Pascal in at the edge position, even though he played the majority of snaps, I think, at the 3 tech. But let's lump Pascal on there as well. So Chris Smith, 33 snaps, that's 55%. Mekhi Wingo and Broderick Martin with 50% apiece. And then Josh Pascal, 29 snaps, that's 48%. I think he was fairly evenly split between inside and out, but there we go. So, not a huge workload for any of those guys. But Ant, coming to you first, you were bigging up Broderick Martin on the podcast last week after his performance. How do you think he did, and how did the rest of the room do this week?
Somewhere in the world, Luke's ears just pricked up when you said that name. You know what? Look, I'm just going to be honestly me with Broderick. I like what I'm seeing from Broderick in this offseason. Obviously, he's played a lot of snaps. I mean, I think he's going to go on the roster. He's played a lot of snaps more than anybody else has so far. But it's what do you want to see from him in year 2 and his development so far? And of course, a lot was made about his technique was a bit wonky, and he was having to learn how to use his strength more, how to take on the double teams, etc. And that's the problems he had year 1, and rightfully so. He's played at a low level in college, his entire college career. So coming up, it's like Corby Solstall, a lot to work on. What I've seen from him this off season. Well, first he's trimmed down, but he's bulked up. He looks in good shape. But when you come to the technique that he's playing with, it's already miles better than it was last year. I've seen multiple examples in both games of him locking up with offensive linemen, but he's making tackles against running backs because he's gotten that ability to disengage. He's got the speed to be able to hunt the running back down, and he's able to run stuff. This is what we've got him in the team for, is to come and help against the run. We've seen him shooting gaps as well, trying to get pressure in the backfield. He's got a quick get off. And I know, again, coming against linemen who are not first stringers now, but I think he's been very tough. I think I've seen the technique come along. I think I've seen his overall IQ coming along. And yeah, he still has a long way to go, but we always said it was going to be year 3 before you see the real him get out, because this is how long it takes to develop these guys. But I think now I feel safe in knowing that if someone goes down, if we need to bring him in, let Aleem have a rest, let Reader have a rest, etc. I think he's going to be just fine. Like, teams have struggled to run the ball through us in this preseason. Like, the one that did get away last week against the Giants was on Wingo, not him. So I love what I've seen from him so far. It's just I have more of a realistic expectation of his timeline, whereas I think others think because he was a round 3 pick, he should be for starting for us right away. Which, no, not every round 3 pick is a starter for you after a year. In terms of the others, I mean, like Chris Smith's been bad. He's not getting on a roster anytime soon. Wingo's up and down, but Wingo's a 6th round pick from this year. Wingo's gonna have ups and downs. By all accounts, he's been training very well, but you can see during the game from time to time, he's making mistakes. He made a mistake for the big touchdown run last week, but he's a rookie. He's a 6th rounder. He's gonna make mistakes. And overall, you're seeing, I mean, certainly for me, when we did the breakdown on him, I've seen a few more pass rush moves than he exhibited in games in college. You've seen an extra quickness in his step. He's showing some good things going forward. So this is good. Martin and Wingo both showing out, both showing bits, and we've going to have some good depth to our DT room. So, like, individually, I like what I'm seeing from the players so far. So I can't complain, really.
Ash?
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, I know it's technically cheating to start talking about some of the edge guys, but obviously Pascal having to play a bit and he slid inside. Same with Patu Connor, who honestly, people, I would not blame you if you forgot he was even on the roster, because did anyone really spot him? It's a young group. We're not playing, obviously, our top two. Reader's obviously not there because of the injury. We're not risking Aleem. And then Pico, because he's a veteran guy who Terrell Williams knows from Titans, and he's going to probably be our backup nose tackle initially. That's why he's appearing in camp. He's playing next to Aleem. We're not risking them. So it's just giving these guys reps. And yeah, Broderick's looked hella good doing it. Chris Smith, not so much. Wingo, he'll get there. I know we weren't big fans of the pick. Just looking now overall in terms of the rookie DTs, and to be honest, there's not a lot of good ones. Like picking out a couple of names. I'm picking out a couple of names totally at random. I'm not picking these guys because some members of the panel were higher on them than they were on Wingo. Christian Boyd, 51.8 PFF grade this preseason. The only kind of guy who's looked good in terms of big names is probably Mason Smith with the Jags, but he has only played 41 snaps and it's all pass rush. And Payne knows this will pay me, but Levi Drake Rodriguez for the Vikings has looked hella good. But for Wingo to be having rookie struggles in preseason, being a 6-rounder when he was he was the third best DT on his team. Not the worst, and he'll get there. He's on, I don't want to say the Levi track because Levi obviously had the injury for it, but he's on that track where, yeah, he probably won't reach his potential with us till year 3-4, the end of the rookie contract, where he'll be an explosive free tech. He's never going to be your sort of every down defensive lineman, I think. So it's all good that he's having these issues and he's being up and down, because when it comes to it, he'll only play like 20 snaps a game at most.
Yeah, I kind of feel like nothing's really changed with the DTs. Pascal showed what a player of his caliber needed to show in that position. He looked good. He should have looked good. With the rest of them, it's kind of as you were. Wingo has to improve, but showed something. Martin showed enough to know that he's on the right track without thinking that he's going to be starting anytime soon, because he's patently just not quite there yet either. I mean, if he plays some reps, that's fine. Like, he's going to get rotated in and you're going to be okay with that. But he's not someone who's going to be a starter in this team, and that's okay. He's getting there. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing more to add in that position, I don't think, really. Let's move over to the edge position. I didn't mention Pat O'Connor, who has been included as edge, but I'm fairly sure he was playing interior, wasn't he?
Yeah, he played mostly interior. I think it was about, looking at the snap count, just that's why I mentioned him. He played about 6% on the interior from like sort of 1 tech to 4 eye.
Cool. That's fine. Probably doesn't bear mentioning anyway. The other 3 that haven't been mentioned: Ukwu, 47 snaps at 78%, Agude, 32 snaps, and Betts, 30. That's 53 and 50% respectively. It's an interesting one, the edge position, I think, because, I mean, not unlike the DTs, I guess, boys, and coming to you, Ash, first. Some good, some bad?
Yeah, like, I'll guess we'll start with the guy who gave his name to the episode, because he really showed out with the tackles for losses on the screens, but Agude looked pretty good on that. Like, his issue was setting the edge against the run. Same with Ukwu. Great week 1, setting the edge, really showed himself this week, took a massive step back on that, and I know he got a sack, but other than that, wasn't really productive edge, like sort of the rushing game. And I know, again, Betts, great sort of swim move for his sack, and he really ploughed there, got to point A to point B really quickly, but again, didn't show much else. And again, he's someone that we had high hopes for, and he's someone's been mentioned with, oh yeah, we're taking Sam off his plate. It very much seems like with these guys who were all fighting for that sort of Sam role behind Houston, everyone's had it took off their plate now. They're all been lumped in with Houston, and then would have been Pascal and that. They're all fighting for the same kind of backup edge roles, and no one's really standing out. Houston's obviously got the calling card, he can hang his hat on. 8 sacks in half a season, really productive pass rusher, but can he develop the run defense? The other guys haven't shown that consistency, and they kind of need to, because it is getting to the point, as much as I love Agude and Ukwu and I love Nate Lynn, if it is just oh yeah, they're flashing the pass rush, you are going to take the guy who's done it in the league. You will take Houston. One of them really needs to come out now against the Steelers, who have improved their offensive line. I know they've had their center go down today, Nate Hurt, big, so former pod favorite in this draft process, will probably be a starter for them, so we won't be seeing them on Saturday. But we need someone to really stand out. We need a Goudet to set the edge and continue this pass rushing. We need Oku, again, set the edge and show more. We just need someone to show better across the board than just one thing every week, because otherwise, yeah, you just go for the guy who's shown that one thing and been elite at it. Someone's going to the practice squad, probably at this point a Goudet, but the others don't know right now.
What do you think, Ant?
I mean, I think it's a shame with some of these guys. Like, these guys are trying incredibly hard. Like, Nate Lynn played incredibly well last week, got injured out. I think Mitchell Agude has been very good. I think, Matthew Betts has looked really good. I think Isaac Ukwu has looked really good. And I know they're having problems with the run and again, where some of these guys have come from, etc. It's going to be a problem they have. Right, with this. This is why, as an edge rusher, you don't get drafted high. Like, if your thing is just edge rushing and you can't, like, the elite edge rushers set the edge very well. That's where they get drafted so high, and these guys get drafted later or don't get drafted at all. So it's a problem you've got to overcome with them. But the thing that's kind of really annoying me here, like, these guys are absolutely working their asses off to get on this roster. And it's really making me want to make, which may be a hot take here or whatever, but I think the Lions, they need to chuck Marcus Davenport out there against the Steelers and make his lazy ass do something in this preseason. I'm on the verge of just, like, I will take some of these guys over him because he's been hurt. He's not been training that much. He has not earned a spot on this roster. I know they've given him money and I know they will take him, etc. Just this is me saying what I'm saying. But these guys are working incredibly hard to get on this roster and doing everything they can, and his lazy ass is doing nothing. And, I had the same things with Pascal. Like I said, Pascal needed to play this week more. Pascal did come out and play this week, and he looked good in parts. He forced a fumble. He's fighting hard. He's looking good. Houston's obviously got his little injury, so he can't. But, like, some of these guys on the periphery are really making me look at the vets on there and go, you know what, actually, I might just try and take a swipe on them rather than you. Because I think how this comes apart, the end of this story, whatever happens, is that the Lions will get to near the trade deadline and they will go out and get an edge opposite Hutch. Because I'm becoming more and more of the opinion now that I don't think our guy is here right now. I think we'll wait till the team's in trouble and we'll bring someone in. And hopefully we can get enough service out of people before then. But when I see Ukwu playing well every week and trying his ass off and, like, the vets aren't out there, it really starts to annoy me. So I want to see anyone not named Aiden Hutchinson out there against the Steelers, out there earning their spot.
Ash?
Yeah, I was I don't know with the Davenport take, because suppose he recently in camp, before in the sort of scrimmages and that, he has been looking better. He has been getting there. But yeah, I do kind of agree that we need to kind of see it, because yeah, we're giving Davenport a lot of money and the coaching staff kind of knows him. But I agree with that sort of end take. Then yeah, maybe trade for a guy. I've obviously got someone in mind. People can guess who that is. Plays for a team in green.
JJ.
JJ. Because he's buried on that depth chart. It could happen, but yeah, we just need something there, because we are at that point now where we are in the Super Bowl window, and that's the one thing that could take this defense from being top 16 to top 5.
I just thought I'd try and bait Ant by saying we should offer next year's 3rd round pick and see how he reacted. Just
see, I was the one clever person who knows that we've not got one.
I know. That's why I said
So,
it. Your Twitter's been
yeah,
great.
yeah.
Um,
Do your research, folks, before you start doing all this sort of stuff. We don't have a third round pick. You want to give up a
Yet.
second for him? Go for it. I am not doing that.
I really like what I've seen from these edges, generally speaking. I agree wholeheartedly with Ant in terms of loving the effort that's been shown there. I do think that Betts has been the worst of the three that played.
Yeah.
I think, yes, he had the sack, and it was a heck of a play. But you're getting yourself a worse version of James Houston with Matthew Betts. And that's kind of where I'm going to pigeonhole that guy. I'm not taking Betts over Houston. That kind of ends Betts' campaign for me. Whereas with Ukwu and Agude, I've kind of seen enough to suggest that maybe there's a little bit more there. And I think they're probably both better at setting the edge than Houston is. Which is interesting. So if they can show a bit more pass rush, maybe they can put themselves in this shout of being in the 53 conversation. But stick Houston in with this group. They are all playing for one spot for me. And I'd just rather take Houston at this point. The thing with Agood is, or Agood, whatever, is that with the kind of the TFLs that he's showing off, the sort of quick reactions at the line, it's sort of the similar stuff and the reactions that you see from Brian Branch last year at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
Like it's the football IQ that's being shown off. And so I got Agude ahead of Ukwu at this point in terms of being the next guy up. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. I mean, the other thing is Ukwu didn't play a snap for special teams, whereas Agude and Betts both played 10 snaps each. So that's another thing they can hang their hat on. I mean, someone's going to make the roster, and at this sort of level of depth, it's special teams which gets you there, so maybe that rules Ukwu completely out. I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised if none of them make it, to be frank. But there we go. It will sadden me because they really have worked hard. And I don't disagree with the Davenport take in terms of I'd like to see it. But the problem is, like with every good election campaign, if you can say nothing and still get elected, you win. And frankly, Davenport is winning by not playing right now.
See, I think he's losing by not playing. With how hard these guys are trying and how hard they're working. I mean, for me, he's what? He's a fraud. He's just robbed money off the Vikings and has not been healthy. And he's not been a good player for quite some time now. You've got to earn your way onto this roster. I think there is more to it than this. Like, he's got to play week 3. Because if he just gets out there week 1, then I'm sorry, but it just goes against what we've done and how we've built this team. And
well, I would say, as someone who I think that you can earn it in camp as opposed to earning it in preseason games, which are meaningless.
He's been hurt most of camp, though. He's not played that much.
But then he stacked back-to-back days where there were press people saying that he looked better than Hutchinson, and you can say what you want about the press people there, but they watch him day in, day out. I don't believe that they would say that just to generate clicks. And you heard Dan absolutely laud what he was doing. So how many days do you have to look better than Hutchinson in camp before you go, okay, maybe we'll protect you instead of play you? Like, I do think there is an element of that in there. Because he's made of glass, I don't really want to risk him in snaps in preseason, personally.
I mean, if he's going to get hurt, I'd rather it be in preseason than in week 1 and us have to faff around trying to find a replacement.
Fair. I agree with that too. It's hard. Anyway, let's move on to maybe the second best position group of this game, which is the linebacker core, led by Ty Summers, 39 snaps, 65%, Ben Neiman with 29 snaps, Abraham Beauplan with 27, Reeves Maven with 18, and Malik Jefferson with 7. Ant, coming back to you first. It was a pretty good day all told by that linebacker group.
Yeah, Beauplan looked really good. I mean, you missed an opportunity to have a really good title here and say, I love it when a bow plan comes together, because good plan. See, you missed that. See, that's genius. That's not cringe. That's genius why he's hiding his face there. But no, they've been really good. And the kind of distressing thing for all these guys is like they're way
What
onto
about
the
5 seconds of
roster.
summer? Could have had 5 seconds of summer. No?
500 days of summer as well.
Yeah, they like these guys are on a hide into nothing. Like our linebacker room's set pretty deep, and I think I don't think any of them are. I mean, what have we got? We've got Anzalone and Campbell. We've got Barnes and Rodrigo. We've got Reeves Mabin. We've got guys who are established. Like, you know, you want to beat Malcolm out, you've got to be the elitist of elite special teamers, and you've got to have some versatility. And Reeves may have been there down. We're 5 deep, very strong here. So all these guys who are playing well is great, but I just think at the end of the day, they'll put themselves in the shop window. They'll go somewhere else. They'll get a roster spot, and they've earned it. But here, it's great to see what they've done. But I just don't really think there's anything there in terms of any of them getting on to the 53.
Ash?
Yeah, I kind of agree. Like, if anyone's got a chance of making that linebacker 6 role, which I know I argue is now, for once, I actually argued that special teams is out the window with linebacker 6. But if someone's going to do it, it would probably be Neiman. As you see, what made my eyes widen about 20 seconds ago. Jamie Vardy's having a party again. Great. But yeah, everyone looks good. Like, yeah, they're fighting for 1 or 2 maybe practice squad spots, because Boplan looked very good at that will spot. I know he didn't get pressure, but he's been credited with the top pass rushing grade from PFF. Didn't miss a tackle, made 5. Neiman looked good. Summers looked good, which obviously I know sparked jokes about his sister Anne in our Discord, which was very funny. The one loser here is obviously Malik Jefferson kind of getting injured again and leaving the game. I think it was with probably a broken hand by the way he was coming off, from what I've read, which is not good because that was someone who's got starting experience in the league for the Bengals. So yeah, only one real loser here being Malik Jefferson. Everyone else is either stayed the course or stock up at this point.
To show you how far we've come, in year 1 of Brad Holmes, Neiman, Boplan, and Summers will probably have made our roster. All of them.
Yeah.
I agree.
Now we're talking about them struggling to make linebacker 6. I do agree with the Neiman. Neiman has game reps. He's played a lot of reps in the NFL as well. But like, this is a good thing. If you get them on the roster, if you get them on the practice squad, that's good depth to have around there and good guys to bring up. So, but
I mean, Neiman's been around the roster. I know he came on a little bit later on in camp, but not as late as the other 2 that played really well and played the majority of the snaps. And Neiman played really well. So it's not just the special team stuff, but also the fact that on defense, I mean, he's been the mic throughout on the starting teams both times, and I think he's a go both times. So I am impressed. Colour me impressed by Ben Neiman. Let's move on to potentially the best room in the preseason game this week. The quarterbacks, led by Khalil Dorsey and Kindle Vildor with 38 snaps apiece, 63%. Amik Robertson, 28 snaps. Stephen Gilmore, 22. Lawrence Strickland, 22. Javelin Guidry, 13. Sorry, I'm not saying it right. And Isang Bassi with 9. Ash, what did he make of the quarterbacks?
The starters in the first half, great. As I said earlier with Khalil Dorsey, him being able to keep like in phase with Worthy on that go ball. You've kind of won me over a bit there because, I know he's our starting corner for a couple of games last season, but he mostly made the initial team as a special teamer, showing a bit there. Amik Robertson, I know he doesn't want to play in the slot, but I don't know, probably don't want him to because we want Branch there, but it's looking like he's going to be our star in the slot come week 1, with Branch being sort of safety starter. And Vildor, again, bouncing back quite literally from that face mask incident against the 49ers and the slip against CeeDee Lamb. We've gone, again, I know we tried to do it last year, this year. Fingers crossed, touch wood, whatever anti-jinx thing you need to do. I think we fixed the secondary, at least the cornerback, because you've got 3 guys you can trust in the slot with Branch, Robertson, Breakstraw, and then you've got 4 guys you can kind of trust on the outside with Carlton Davis, who I know is signed with a new agent today as well. So maybe that all makes things happen with maybe in a contract extension. Arnold we drafted, and then you've got Vildor and Dorsey on the outside. That's pretty damn good. And then the other guys, I know Gilly, I know is a favourite of ours. He held down one of the outside corner spots. That's good to see him take that step up with the injuries happen. Guidry and Bassey split in the other one. Guidry got a bit more run, but honestly, looking at PFF, neither really showed themselves that well. And then with Strickland playing in the slot, this is someone who I know Pride of Detroit speak about it. He was brought into camp as a strong safety. He's doing a reverse Branch, it seems, where we were just giving him some nickel spot snaps, and he looked good, got TFL, but again, practice squad at best. So the corners, I was pretty impressed, but we know who's going to stay, who's not going to stay. It's mostly, can Gilly get a practice squad spot at this point, which I hope he does, but at the same time, if he has a good game against the Steelers, he could be going elsewhere. Who knows? Vikings need corner help, and they just brought in his brother. We could have the Gilly brothers on the outside for the Vikings.
See, for me, it's time for the Gilly monster to get a spot on our roster. He's been banging on the door for a year now, and his performances this preseason and this offseason have just cemented my belief that he's ready. And I'm willing to take him toe-to-toe with likes like Vildor sucks balls against the run. Gilmore does not. Gilmore is a lot better when it comes to playing against the run. Bits like that where I'm taking depth corners. He's shown his coverage is very sticky. It's good. Like, he's done everything he can to work his way onto this roster. So I have him threatening these depth guys, the older ones who, like I say, he's better against the run. And for me, that's what I'm going to take him against when it's coming into those positions. He can do it in coverage as well. I think overall, he's going to be a better all-round corner than some of these guys when all is said and done. But this just speaks to the level of competition, again, that we're seeing on these spots. Like, he's not been able to get into this team despite any time in the last 5 years. He might have walked his way onto this roster, given some of the depth we had and some of the issues we've had in our corner room over the years. But I really want to see him make it. If someone's going to upset everything, he does. And I don't care if it's Vildor or whoever who gets cut for him. I'm quite happy with that. And again, the safety position's been quite nice. Like Brandon Joseph, Lawrence Strickland, both been really damn good. They're forcing competition for those depth spots. And whoever goes, I think I'd hope it's Brandon Joseph, because he, again, have been around the roster for 12 months now. We want to develop these guys. Like, the whole point of these guys going on the practice squad, like the lower level guys, etc., is we develop them over time, bring them up to the roster. It's like using AAA in baseball, and you get these guys ready and up they come when they're there. And they know our system better than anybody. They've been around, and I think they'll just slot right in. So certainly Gilmore and Joseph, I hope, make this thing, and I believe that they both deserve to against maybe some of their more senior opponents.
I'm about to shock everyone. Brandon Joseph is making the 53 over CJ Moore.
Oh, I don't think that's shocking. Well, it's shocking everyone who knows you.
Exactly, yeah. Everyone that knows me, you know how much I love CJ Moore.
I can't see CJ Moore making it, but we'll come on to safeties in just a sec. Come on to safeties in just a moment.
Oh, well, we did safeties.
Okay. All right. Sorry. I will recount the snap counts for the safeties then. Joseph, 38. Melifon with 38. That's 63%. CJ Moore, 33%. Chellan Garnes, 28%. So, for me, shall I take my Vildor victory lap now? Because he looked fucking great. He looked awesome. And I don't know, he's one of those guys where I just think, okay, fine, if you're going to eviscerate him as a cornerback 5 or 6 for not making every play, that's on you. Because on a snap-to-snap basis, he's pretty damn reliable that far down. I have a hard time between Dorsey and Gilmore, because for me, mostly going down made sure that Vildor was a lock for this roster. Like, I can't see Vildor going. But between Dorsey and Gilmore, I really think that is a fight to the death for it. And actually, if Ant's right about who goes, and it's Dorsey and Gilmore over Vildor, I'm fine with it, because they both have showed a really good amount of skills out there. But I just find it hard with someone of Vildor's strength. Like, you think about the how do we put it? The players who got criticised last year so decided to leave us instead of trying to stick it out. Vildor got a lot worse than that particular player that I'm not mentioning. And he came back and he is showing his backbone. Like, I get the whole, like, kind of rookie UDFA stuff and really liking seeing their development. That is absolutely something I respect, and I want to see that from my team. But I also really respect a veteran stepping up who maybe hasn't had the easiest career path, getting criticised awfully last year for a couple of bad plays, who played really well for us in a pinch, and then plays great in preseason, saying, I still want to be here. Vildor deserves, for me, just as much praise as Dorsey and Gilmore. Dorsey and Gilmore do have age over him, though, and that is the problem, I think, for Vildor.
No, Vildor's problem is that he's got a career grade of 40 against the run and a 30% missed tackle rate. Like, I'm sorry,
he's better than that now.
Oh, give over. This is just he who shall not be named again. Oh my God, he's first time. Look how good he looks in preseason, and he's never going to be a good player. I'm not mentioning the name because he's gone, but
who's that?
No, we're not doing this.
Warris.
I am sorry. We're getting tinted glasses with Vindor. I mean, like, I liked what Kindle did last year. I praised Kindle a lot of what he did last year, but the point is, he is down on the depth chart. Like, they're going to be right down at the bottom. So what do you want at the bottom of your depth chart? Stephen Gilmore is a young player who has shown that he is good against the run. His tackling is good. His coverage is getting better. He's been on this roster long enough now to know this system inside and out. Or do you want to take a vet who flunks his tackles, who is not good against the run? You know, he's older, less mobile, and we've seen him get lit up in our secondary. I mean, you know, just because he's older and more experienced doesn't mean he should get on there. Again, Gilmore is one of those who is... He's just knocking on the door. He's knocking, knock, 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 knock. Every single time something's been asked of him, he's done it. And he's come back to knock on your door again. And eventually you've got to open that door and let him in. Like, Vildor's had a lot of opportunities to knock on a door in his career, and he's not. He's ran off. So that's how I look
disagree.
at it.
I think Vildor's shown so much backbone by sticking here. I do hear what you're saying. I mean, I would say for Gilmore, he tried to make a play, but he was at fault for one of the touchdowns by trying to undercut a route, not unlike Kansas City did against us, where our quarterback threw it straight to the man. But he tried to read the quarterback's eyes, tried to break on a route, and the quarterback just threw it over him. And it ended up costing a big touchdown.
Which is what preseason's about. He's a young guy who is learning his way in. Like, everybody else gets this. But we're not talking about the plays where he's been very good in his coverage, where he's been good. He's made a lot of good plays.
But we are talking about that too. We've all said that he played really, really well.
Yeah.
If you're saying that about other people outside of this virtual room, fair. But I swear I said I love what Dorsey and Gilmore have done. So, it's not like I'm just overlooking that. I'm just saying Vildor didn't give up a big touchdown in a spot by making a naive play.
Yeah.
It was a play made by a young player, and he's a young player, so that's fine. He did make the 53 last year. That's the thing about was it Gilmore or Dorsey made the 53?
I think
Gilmore was on the practice squad all year.
No,
it's the other way around, wasn't it? Wasn't it Dorsey was on the practice squad?
Dorsey was made the 53.
Okay.
Wasn't Dorsey injured, though?
Yeah, Dorsey
I seem to remember him coming off an injury.
He did get injured at some point, yeah. Anyway, cool. what is true is, in terms of backups, this is a really exciting group.
Yeah.
Come the end of it, we're looking at whoever's making it being maybe our strongest group in the entire team in terms of depth. I didn't really mention safety, but I agree. Brandon Joseph has to make it over CJ Moore. There's no other drama to speak of. The only one is, does Lauren Strickland kind of make it as a nickel? Because, with Mosley going down, there's a door slightly ajar for that. Maybe.
It depends what branch is classified as. Like, if you're going to include him as a corner and there's another room in the safety room open, then maybe. But if he goes as a safety, then no. There'll just not be room to take him. Yeah. I don't think he would get get poached by anybody. He'd be nice. Squatter. Yeah, he would do well to be in the Joseph role this year, and then in 12 months' time, because obviously there'll be a lot of questions about the safety room in 12 months potentially. That might be his chance to do what Joseph's done this year.
I do think it'd be quite nice, actually, to have CJ Moore get cut because he's not being picked up by anyone else, and he'd be on our practice squad, being able to call him up.
Yeah.
I think that's where he lies. No one else is going to take him. So
I think a poor team might take him for his practice squad.
Well, we take him for the practice squad, though. Why would he go anywhere else? If it's just going to be practice squad.
Well, someone like the Patriots will give him a bit of a go there, then.
Yeah, true. But if it's between choosing between practice squads, because he's a veteran, he won't go through waivers. We can just turn around to him, as we always do with the 53. It's always a couple of these cuts. You're like, what the hell's going on? And you realise a couple of days later, it's a vet cut that they've turned around and said, okay, we're cutting you now, but we're going to bring you back in a couple of days. More could be that. It's like people were saying with Sudfeld, like, it can work. Like, I love CJ Moore to bits because of the special teams, but obviously Joseph's overtaken him for sure. So he's going to be free safety free at best. Like, surely, yeah, you can maybe make Strickland train there, and Branch is going to be playing all kinds of roles now. He'll probably play a couple of single high. So yeah, Moore's role's just gone.
Yeah,
so I could see Strickland, yeah, maybe Garns.
Nah.
No. I kind of liked Garns a bit coming out because I think he was at Wake Forest. Looked good there, but yeah, NFL is just too much for him. He's a spring leaguer. Maybe give him a couple of years in spring league, he'd come back as a decent box safety too. But yeah, right now, just nah.
Not quite there. Right, special teamers. Jake Bates had 11 snaps, Fox with 9, Hatton with 5, and Daly with 4. So Hatton snaps in the first half, Daly snaps in the second half. Daly then, of course, snaps for the game-winning field goal. Boys, we don't need to talk about how good Jack Fox is. I don't think there's no risk to him on the roster. But Jake Bates is a competition against himself. And Ash, what did you make of Jake Bates' performance? 4 of 4, but the missed extra point.
The extra point wasn't on him. And I know me and Nat had a bit where for a couple of minutes we're trying to see it, and it's not on him. It was partly a bad snap from Hatton, which obviously upset me because with you being on holiday, I have been carrying the ROTL Lions long snapper flag here, there, and everywhere for us. And I really I'm saying it publicly now. If Hatton wins the job, he is the guy that's going on the back of my Lions home jersey to complete my set instead of CJ Moore. Just because he has looked pretty good, other than that one bad snap we're saying with the extra point. He's been pretty good with his snaps. He's been getting there with the the receiver as well, using his linebacker experience. So yeah, Bates, it wasn't on him. Like the field goals, and I think where we want to be with the team now, I'm okay with 1 or 2 extra point misses. I know Badgley didn't miss one last season for us, but I think as Ryan again on the Pride of Detroit PODcast said yesterday, only 9 kickers were perfect in extra points last year. It's usual for a kicker to miss 1 or 2 in a season. I can live with a couple of extra point losses where we drop. Let's say we drop 3 points. If with Bates' leg we gain 9 because instead of going for it on like a 4th and 6 on the opponent's 40, we kick it instead and we get 3 points from that. I'm happy taking that swing because we're a good enough 2-point team anyway. If we get into a hole with an extra point, we can probably do it that way. Like, let's do it. Bates only for long field goals. If we score, then we're going for 2 every time.
Yeah, Bates looked good. I think since he had that lapse in camp a few weeks back, he's really bounced back from that, and he's shown that it's not just a confidence thing with him. I think it's just a learning curve, and he's slowly integrating into it, and he exudes confidence. Like, all his kicks he's made, these are all outdoor kicks. So, obviously with the Panthers, he's been playing indoors, and my question was, can he do it outdoors? And the weather in New York was atrocious, and he hit that thing down Broadway, and you've got no, like, when we've had kicks before, when we've had Patterson and Santoso and all these guys, you're having a minor seizure every time they have a kick because you think, where the hell's it going? But with him, I'm quite calm and collected, and I'm thinking, yeah, he's gonna go in. The snap was botched for his extra point, so I'm not too fussed there. Or maybe it was Fox on the whole, but it didn't look right from the get-go with it. But at the end of the day, it's preseason; these things happen. It doesn't really matter. I do hope Hatton makes the roster, just so I can entitle a show "The Horns of Hatton," make a history one. But that's as much as I'm going to say about special teams. And of course, the reason why everybody is in the building here today is to hear about Matt's opinion on the long snappers. So I'm just going to pass it over to Matt now. And Daly and Hatton, big competition going on here.
So just to say, as part of all of this, and during the game, did post a very quick 3-second clip of the missed extra point. So while you guys have been talking about it, I've watched it 10 times. There's nothing wrong with the snap, and there's nothing wrong with the hold. And I have seen the freeze frame with the ball at about 30 degrees. That is where Jake Bates kicks the ball. Consistently, the ball is not upright. And that is just the way some kickers kick the ball. And that is why when a kicker comes in or a new holder comes in, that you get chemistry problems, because every kicker likes it held in a different way, and the holder has to acquiesce to whatever the kicker wants. The snap is straight at Fox, straight to where his hands are. So there's nothing wrong with the snap. I just don't see anything wrong with it. For me, it's on Bates. It's just a bad kick. And, I mean, he's missed extra points in practice. So it's not a surprise that he's missed extra points. But the thing is, he's shown a good enough leg during the bigger field goals to suggest that it's just him being a rookie in a big environment. And actually, the learning curve for him is very much up. I am up on Jake Bates, despite, I think, the fact that the extra point miss is on him rather than on anyone else. So I think Hatton's making it. Daly has snapped fine. Let's not make any mounds about this. Like, Daly snaps fine in this preseason, but I do think Hatton is snapping better. So I've kind of decided on this already. But, I mean, Bates in a competition against himself is winning. Kind of. I don't think they're going to be bringing in anyone else. I think that decision is kind of done. If another kicker gets cut, it introduces some uncertainty. But considering who else is available at the moment, there's no one which is going to rival him. So, there we go. All right, we have gone through how these guys have done this week, boys. Anything else you want to talk about before we get out of here?
I just want to give out one shout out this week. So I have a confession to make, and like, some people might not like this, given the heating of the rivalry we have, but I am now officially going forward a Bears fan, and I apologize greatly about this, but our very good friend on the college podcast, Gerald, Coach Huggins, got a new job just recently that we heard about. He's now going to be the director of football operations for the Morgan State Bears down in HBCUs. And I just wanted to give a massive shout out to him. We love having him on. We do all our HBCU shows. It goes through him because he is one of the most passionate, well-knowledge people about this. It is a part of the college football scene which cannot be highlighted enough, because there's so many talented players there, and you've seen it in preseason. Some of these guys like Ian Wheeler, balling out, didn't get drafted, but he's now at the top position at one of the HBCUs. So if anyone is in around the Baltimore area, does know Morgan State or their college team might be playing against them this year, do go down, show them their support. I know I'm going to try and get my hands on some of his merch and rep it on the college show, but yeah, just a big shout out to your coach, Huggins. Yeah, you deserve that more than anybody. New director down at the Morgan State Bears, so show him some love as and when you can. And they've got a Bears fan over here now, just a Morgan State Bear though. Never a Chicago Bear, but the Morgan State Bears now have themselves some fans over here in the UK. So go kill it, coach. I know you will.
All right, we do have one question as well, actually, from Contrapaston, who says, how should we use our remaining cap space? We have a lot of it, and seemingly, for me, no way to spend it, because every new contract we hand out to one of our players lowers the fucking cap hit for this year, increases the amount of space that we have. Do you guys have a theory on what we should do? Are you content rolling it over? Do you think it's going to be waiting for cut downs in order to maybe give a big deal to the most high profile person that gets cut? What's your theories on what's going on with that? Because I kind of refuse to believe we've handed out all of these new deals to build this cap space for nothing.
I think partly it's a reaction to last year with all the moves we had to keep making, signing new people. So we want to obviously have that rollover space that we always have, and then have the wiggle room, let's call it, where if a player gets injured, do we need to sign someone new? We have that wiggle room. But yeah, I could see it being weighted until the trade deadline, and then yeah, if there's an edge that comes available, if there's a wide receiver who's still unhappy with the quarterbacks thrown to him, maybe he's not really a fan of Minshew Mania, and we need to get an X receiver in, then maybe. But yeah, for me, it's just the standard. Want to have some rollover for next year, need some wiggle room for any IR moves, practice squad elevations and that. And then, yeah, whatever's left, safe to the trade deadline, see what we can do.
Yeah, I think, see, this year, for the first year, probably since any of us have been alive, we're going to be buyers at the deadline. I very much believe that this money has been saved in case of emergency, or just in case we need that little thing to get us over the line. If we are struggling at the edge, if we're playing well, but we are still struggling for sacks, we need someone opposite Hutch. Like I say, if by the deadline, Davenport, Houston, and Pascal are not performing, then they've had their chance. So we go out there and we invest in someone. We bring them in, similar as Ash mentioned with the wide receiver position. If like Jamo and Amon-Ra are doing well, but we're missing the depth and it is starting to affect how we play, I think they will go out there and they'll get their final accompaniment here, because I know this team is built to draft, develop, and pay. But as I said myself the other week, you will get to a point where you get 95% of the way to a Super Bowl on the grit factor and building the team the way we have. But what distinguishes good people from great people is knowing the point where you have to slightly lax where you're at to go and take that final spot, because we're in a window now. And, you know, if we need to go out and get somebody, they're not just going to throw the season away because we might not get it back again. Who knows? The NFL is a very fickle thing. So I think this money has been deliberately left so that if we need to, we can go out and use it and in the trade deadline, because this might be our best chance to do it. And, you know, if that's the way we're going to go, then fine, because we'll at least, as long as we give our guys the chance first, great. If they don't perform, that's what it's there for. And I fully believe that we're going to buy this deadline and we're going to go on and try and win this thing while we can.
I have nothing to add. I agree with both of you, really similar points. Carlton Wood said, isn't Cap being safe at Aleem McNeil? So if we sign Aleem McNeil to a new deal now, it's likely his cap hit will be about the same this year and then will increase next year, in which case we still have the same cap space that we have. And then we need to make sure it's conserved for all of the new deals for the year 2 hit that we're about to absorb. I kind of think Aleem is trending towards the tag, because I think we'll want to keep him. And if we manage to keep the cap space we have, we'll have the cap space available to tag him. I don't want to tag him. I want him here on a long-term deal. But how often do you see a player of his profile, with the performance he had last year, go into the last year of his deal at defensive tackle and then get signed before he hits free agency? I wouldn't blame Aleem if he balls out and then hits the market, or wants to hit the market, and we prevent it happening. We're getting late in the day to make a deal for Aleem before all of that happens.
Aleem is on the Justine Matabuike track from
Yes.
last year.
Yes. Because then we gain the cap relief next year, with it being year one of the deal, if we tag and then re-sign him at that time. I absolutely buy that.
Oh, I bloody love Justine Matabuike.
Yeah. All right. Guys, it's been a great show. Thank you all for listening and all of the comments. It's been absolutely great to be back. Our next show is the College Football Podcast. Ant, remind us again what you're doing with that this week.
So it's our predictions week. So college football kicks off this coming Saturday. So for the second year, we'll be giving our predictions for the season. We predict who's going to make the conference championship games, who's going to win it. And then this year, obviously, we've got the added niche that we're going to try and predict the 12 teams to get into the playoffs and who's going to win the whole thing again. And then we put forward the guys we reckon who might win the individual awards, like the Dope Walker, the Beletnikov, all that sort of stuff. So this is us putting our knowledge on the line, because we do. And then at the end of the season, we'll see how we get on. But it's good fun. If you want to come along, let us know your thoughts, see who you think's going to do it. Then you can go in competition against me and Rye if you want. We're very much beatable. So we'll see you there for that, hopefully.
And don't forget a bonus episode this Thursday where we're doing our 53-man roster prediction on the main podcast before being live Tuesday next week, not Monday, Tuesday, because it is 53-man roster cutdown day. We will be live looking at the Lions cutdowns and the cutdowns from around the league, because we are talking right now about what to do with our cap, and some of that may come due next Tuesday, so I hope you can join us for that, along with a bit of a preseason Game 3 review as well during that. That will probably precede the deadline, because of course a lot of the information actually comes out after the deadline. Just remains to me to tout our socials. Ant's doing some great work on our Twitter as always, so if you're not following us on there, please do give us a follow, because well, it's good crack. Also, Royal the Lions UK, obviously YouTube and Twitch, if you're listening to us through there. All of your audio platforms, podcast platforms, as well as Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And the Facebook group for Worldwide fans is Detroit Lions Fans UK1 Pride Worldwide. On that Facebook group, it's not ours, but we are strongly affiliated with it. And you'll see a lot of the UK fans who come over to the US for their games put up all of their photos on there, showing the pride that we have on this side of the pond for Detroit. So it's a good follow. Otherwise, just remains for me to thank Ant and Ash for doing this with me. It's been great to be back from holiday. I missed this very much, even though it's only one show I missed. And well, the next time we speak to you, we'll be making our 53-man roster prediction on the main show. I can't wait for that too. Boys, it's been great. For now, 1-1 in the preseason and 2-0 in Kansas City the last two times we've played them. Let's go Lions, one pride.
One pride.
One pride.
Recording stopped.